Everyone has moments in life they can't just stop thinking about. They can be embarrassing things, like that one time you face planted in front of a group of teenagers, or something amazing like the first time you hosted your family for the holidays. And on Baby, This is Keke Palmer, hosted by me, Keke Palmer, and presented by BMW, we know to savor the good memories and let go of the bad. And one thing everyone remembers fondly is their first time behind the wheel of a BMW. So come join me and BMW this summer as we explore pop culture moments and topics you just can't stop thinking about on Baby, This is Keke Palmer, sponsored by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
This episode brought to you by the following patrons: Leaf Girl, Min, Sex Caliber Bones a Lot, Madeline, Alyssa, Vixen, Holly, Natasha, Laura, Jeremy with the laser eyes, Allie, Logan, Libby, Aaron, Kristen, Amy, Tia, Jonathan, and Isaac. But because it's that special time of the month, I get to shout out our You Can Get It level sponsors, and they are the Viking Paratrooper, Kathy, Nikki, Knitting Menace, Samantha, Trevor, Renee, Billy, Jennifer, Caitlin, Edward, Dharma, Grace, Bryce, Vanny, Sean, Mr. Ragebomb, Shayna, Allie, Dr. Voorhees, MD, Amelia, Liza, Becca, Stace, AJ, Radioactive Spider Gwen, Irene, Naomi, Bex, Laura, Cameron, Kaylee, Jackie, Elisa, Mushroom Snail Fox, and Unintentionally Badass, aka Jennifer. And all the patrons want you to know you're loved, you're listened to, and you're a valuable member of this awesome Horror Virgin community. If you want to hang out with us, do so in the Facebook group where we'll be starstruck daily.
Thank you for tuning into Horror Virgin. I'm Paige.
And I'm your Horror Virgin Todd, which means I don't like scary movies, but you guys make me watch them. And this week we have very special guest, Michael McMillian!
Hey, thanks for shouting me in. I appreciate it.
Literally shouting you in like we are being exercised in this movie. But thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here.
Yes.
You got to do some back bends and some Martha Graham style, positions on the floor.
Oh, yeah.
Can I just be honest with you right now? If in college I was sleeping next to a girl, not even like post-sex, like sleeping next to a girl, and I woke up and it looked like she wanted me to scratch that tummy like my dog does now, I would freak the fuck out and get out of there.
Yeah.
Because that's the way she's like on the floor. I was like, what is happening?
I have to say, out of all the characters in this film, the one I felt the worst for was that man.
Right?
Was that boy. Was that poor college boy just signing up for the wrong relationship from the get-go.
Yeah. He was like, oh, she's troubled. Perfect.
I need a whole movie about this boy's trauma, because the fact he just sees her run out of a classroom and then signs up, like he's there in the exorcism. I'm like, why is this kid?
Yeah.
They've never had a conversation.
No.
I was going to ask that. Are they like boyfriend and girlfriend that we just don't know about that?
They mention it once.
Did they?
Oh, okay. I missed that part.
We do not see them participating in a relationship much on screen.
It looks like he's like, oh, look, a girl in distress. Let me literally holler at that and then go claim it, I guess.
We hear in her mom's testimony that they were together, but that's the only confirmation.
We should also say we watched the movie The Exorcism of Emily Rose. In fact, the listeners made us watch this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys picked it. For us, that relationship seems like it was straight out of like a 1950s like a teenage relationship where this boy has never even spoken to this girl.
Well, she's 19, so of course we're married and she's pregnant. I got to stay around. Like it's
very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange.
I also think it was very funny how much this movie vilifies when she went away to university and then woke got her, like whatever it was.
When she left her family.
Oh, yeah, and got possessed by the demon woke. Yeah, for sure.
This movie has it out for cats.
Yep.
And it has it out for pharmaceuticals.
You got it.
This movie has to have been funded by Pfizer, and Gambatrol or whatever is like by a rival drug company. Because that's the way they name drop it so negatively.
Right.
So often.
Yeah.
It's definitely a part of Pfizer's marketing strategy was the whatever millions of dollars for this budget.
Why see a doctor when you can just see a priest?
Yeah.
That's what this whole...
Exactly.
Also, not to get ahead of ourselves, but why are we on the Catholic Church's side? They couldn't help her any more than the doctors could.
Yeah, she's dead.
So why are they the good guys? Nobody helped this woman.
In the eyes of the law, they're not the good guys, but like, we're going to give you a pass.
Yeah.
Ugh.
In the eyes of this really long Law and Order episode, yes.
In the eyes of this heartbroken college freshman, you know, they're the heroes. But like, there is no hero nobody wins literally nobody wins in this movie.
No, and the movie really wants you to think that we won something, but the movie is also, I started noticing parallels as the movie went on to like a real life case, and I was like, I wonder if that's the one that it's based on. It's based on Annalise Mickle, which is a case in which a woman was abused and starved to death, and they were convicted.
66 pounds when she died because the priest and her family did not feed her for months.
A full year.
I had not seen this movie. This is my first time obviously seeing this movie.
Mine too.
Yeah, okay, awesome.
Same.
So like when I realized that we were getting a movie where at least, where it's possible that someone who is involved in a murder that's called an exorcism gets accountability, I was like, hell yeah, I'm on board for this. And then I guess he does get held accountable.
No, I don't think so.
No.
But the state is sort of like, we're going to let you pass because it was an oopsie goof or whatever. Like, I don't understand why he, like, time served, you're good.
That felt like, I mean, I don't know if in the Annalise Mitchell case, if the priest served time or not.
They did not. They served probation. They got 3 years of probation.
Okay.
They were convicted.
So this movie is pretty accurate then.
Yeah, the movie is accurate. They were convicted.
That's so dark.
I think this guy should have at least served probation. Again,
Something.
He didn't help at all. He didn't.
No.
He may have not have killed her.
Right.
But he certainly did not help her.
Well, and they're not trying to convict him of murder one. Like, it's not premeditated. It was like, you know, involuntary homicide through exorcism or whatever the charge was.
Well, and every time this movie keeps trying to like prove to us, the audience, like she was for real possessed. So like he's not guilty of anything. And I was like, everything you bring up makes me think more and more that it was just unfortunate mental illness.
Yes.
Yeah,
and if we had just gotten her actual help,
Guys.
she would be okay.
Yes.
There was a moment about halfway in where I was like, oh, I think it's when they walk in and she's eating spiders.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And she gets one stuck in her throat so she can't scream that loud.
Yes.
First question, I was like, clearly they're insinuating that the cats brought her these spiders.
Yes.
Oh, that makes sense. My cat would do that.
Yeah, same.
And then two, I was like, can we try? There's balloons appearing on my Zoom window.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Can we try to at least admit her to a hospital
Thank you.
first?
Right.
Just
Yes.
get her to an actual hospital and see what my fiance is get in her doctoral program to become a clinical psychologist. There are
nice.
ways.
Awesome.
There are actual people who will test whether or not you have a mental illness. There is a system for this.
Yeah.
People go to school for a very long time and study very, very hard to figure this out. It was like, a psychologist needs to see this woman before any of us make big decisions for her.
Before we kill this person. Yes. Yeah. That's essentially what we're watching.
Oh, but the other thing is the movie teaches us is she wanted to die, everybody.
Yes. She literally has oh my God. She has a conversation with Mary.
Off camera Mary.
Oh, they shot Mary like they got a big get for Mary. Guys, you're not going to believe the cameo we got for Mary, but we only have her for an hour. And then on the day, she was like, I can't make it. So they just shot around Mary. It's insane.
Do you think they got Meryl Streep?
It has to have been. Okay, so here's a weird pull just because I like the movie Dogma. Should have been Alanis Morissette.
Oh, would love.
I knew both of you nerds would get that reference.
Been great.
That's a good call.
Yeah.
Well, she was God. She was God.
She was God.
but
I know.
She'd be good for Mary.
She would be great. Yeah. I mean, you would definitely be like, oh, I see the resemblance, right?
100%.
Yeah, it's a real what if Mary was one of us kind of vibe.
Well, Mary's not God's daughter. Now you're messing with canon.
No, but she's Jesus's mom, bro. Like,
Okay, fair enough.
Right. the other thing too is like they keep harping on the medication, and they were like, yeah, the exorcism happened when she was on it. I was like, not every medication works for every person, right?
Yeah,
Like,
why are you trying one pill?
Yeah.
yes.
It's not just 2 weeks of one prescriptive bottle or dying
Demons.
from an exorcism. Yeah, or demons.
Full-blown demons. And in the Annalise's case, they did 67 exorcisms, which is
On her?
on her. Yes.
They did more exorcisms than she weighed when she died. That's
Yes.
fucking
That's correct.
gross.
That is gross.
Yeah.
So on my podcast, Bigfoot Collectors Club, we've talked about the exorcism of Roland Doe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that was another situation where that was in St. Louis. That's the case that the exorcism is based on.
Right.
And, or one of the cases, because they kind of pulled from a few things.
The new exorcism, you mean, right? The Russell Crowe one?
No, the original one.
Okay.
Because it was a big case in St. Louis and I think also in D.C. They moved.
That's where the movie takes place.
That's where the movie takes place, is in D.C.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, in real life, when you hear about these cases, like the exorcisms do take place over months.
Yeah.
And they treat them, it sounds like they're treated more like therapy sessions where they
Right.
come in, they work with them for the patient for an hour or two, and then they leave, and then they figure out what we're going to do next time we come in, if we need like a bigger cross or like more holy
Right.
water or whatever.
More Latin.
Yeah, and all, yeah.
So Emily Rose, tell me how it feels to have a demon inside you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not great. I'm gonna count to 6 a bunch. Like
Between now and next week, I'd like you to practice some gratitude, and then we'll pick back up.
I appreciate these grounding techniques. I'll work on it.
I'm sorry, your time is up. I have to go.
So I'm billing your insurance. Your copay is $15.
So the thing is, in the movies, it's always like one big session. It feels
Right.
like.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. And the one in this movie is so intense. Like this movie is it's super scary. And that exorcism scene fucked me up, Paige. But this is like, I can't do it, man. It's so scary. The jump scares really got me and all that stuff. But like the exorcism scene is super intense.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
She like leaves the bed. I was like, that's nuts. She's outside in a barn.
Another thing, like, guys, why don't we just take this outside of the barn?
Yeah.
Of course, one of these horses are going to kick you in the head.
Though I know, like that is honestly,
Her dad gets beat to shit.
and he should know better. Those are his horses.
That's what happens when you let all of those satanic animals into your house.
Exactly.
Yep.
That horse had been planning that shit for months. He's like, the second they get in here, I'm kicking him right in the chest.
It's because the father's always going in there and trying to kiss him.
I think
Yep.
it's because the horse is still on Gumbatrol or whatever it was.
They were feeding it to the horse.
Gambutrol.
Yeah, Gambutrol or whatever. Yeah.
They were tossing all of that medication into the stable.
I mean, this is what happens when prescriptions end up in our water supply. But I was really upset when they brought in the and I'll spoil this fun fact now because I could talk about it for too long. They brought in the expert on alternative beliefs. And
Yeah.
the first person she references is Carlos Castaneda, who is somebody we have covered on Cult Podcasts.
Yeah.
Because he con-manned a ton of people into reading his books
Like this
by lying
doctor.
about being a shaman
Yep.
and his doctor. And then a bunch of his followers, unfortunately, died by suicide after this movie came out.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yes.
Also, first person of color in the movie is the mystic.
Yeah.
The weird mystic who also says that the one medication she's taking is locking her in the possessed state. And I was like, can we quantify any of this with any evidence-based care at all? No.
I did really love that the movie is more or less Law and Order, but it's like prosecution defense.
With Law and Order cast members, too.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you do that? They just show up to set and they're like, "Oh shit, I'm possessed today." Okay. But the back and forth of like the defense, prosecution, it always made me laugh because like we see a flash of like what the exorcism was like, or like the build up to it, or what she was experiencing, or like all that stuff. And then it cuts to the defense side of it, and he like has like a very logical explanation. He's like, so you're hearing multiple vocal cords. Did you know that you have 2 sets, and you can use those 2 sets of vocal cords? And I was like, I didn't super note that, but now that I do, all of that was bullshit, I guess.
I kind of would have liked it if the movie, and I know that it's a different movie. It's kind of like I want a different movie.
Yeah.
But it would have been more interesting if we weren't sure. If we couldn't tell,
Yes.
was it a possession or was there something off or different with her? was she going through some sort of psychosis? Or I would have loved that. And I would have loved to see like evidence of, okay, you bring up this vocal thing. That's a nice wow moment in the courtroom, I guess. But it would have been cool if there was like some evidence that maybe her character was able to do it. Like,
Yeah.
she was a singer. Like, she went on a singing scholarship. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if there were things that we could point to and go, well, she does actually have a big range because because if we're making up who Emily Rose is anyway, it's very loosely based on the original case. Why not lean into the is she or isn't she stuff?
Yeah.
And I guess it's because they wanted to go for a very horror movie angle, but
Yeah.
the movie is not structured like a traditional horror movie anyway.
It's not.
I thought like you guys are leaving the most interesting debate like off the table.
Yeah.
That should be the cool movie. And then you want to leave the theater going, well, maybe sometimes people are possessed and maybe sometimes they are just having a mental break. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give it that real mystery.
I think the movie you want is, in my opinion, of the Exorcist movies we have watched on the show, probably the best, maybe outside of the original Exorcist. And it's called The Last Exorcism.
Yes.
And it's from the point of view of an exorcist who is like, I'm kind of a con man, but I just make
Yeah.
people feel better, so I'm not really hurting anybody. And he encounters a case where he's like, I don't know if she is or isn't.
Yeah.
And he takes her to a hospital.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is out of my hands. I got to take you to the hospital. And then it becomes abundantly clear that she is full blown possessed.
Yeah.
Wow.
But like with stuff that is unexplainable. And I think it makes for a much better movie. I think the scariest parts of this movie are the possession scenes
Oh, by far. Yes.
by far. But because they're like, you know, cut together with the Law and Order episode that's happening, you doubt them because you're like, I mean, I guess she could still technically do that just like as a person.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's creepy, but like, I also know the actress is doing this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she was great, by the way. She gives everyone gives a very committed performance.
She was great, man.
Her body work.
Yeah, I think everyone does a
Yes.
great job in the movie. I think the movie has problems.
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Everyone is like committed 100%
Yes.
to the script, and I applaud everybody for it. I kind of had a different feeling, Paige, where I was like, well, as soon as she sees that Scott Derrickson style creepy face in the window, I was
Right.
like, okay, it's real.
Right.
And the rest of the movie is going to be Laura Linney coming to terms with the fact that this is real.
Right.
And for me, that took the scariness out of it.
A little bit.
And I kept waiting for, again, take some liberties. If you're taking liberties, like I kept waiting for the real moment where Laura Linney was going to be confronted. Like, what happened to the demon?
Right.
Where's the demon now that she's dead? Like, it would have been very cool to have the demon on the loose. Like, the killer is still out
Oh,
there.
man.
Like, that's another awesome
Yes.
thing they left on the table.
And there is a
Like,
killer still out there, like John Hopper or whatever.
Her
Like,
backstory.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, you could have tied all of that together.
Could have
Yes.
brought all this stuff together. She
Yes.
could have been confronted. What if he came back in the third act to kill her?
And he's possessed or something.
And he's possessed by it, and she's like, oh my God, yes.
Yes.
Like, come on, guys. There's so much fun third act stuff we could have done here.
It's at an 8, but we need an 11.
Yeah.
Wait, can I pitch you what I would think is thematically on tone with this movie ending that I think would be way better than this?
Okay.
But let me ask you a question first, because I fully think Dr. Cartwright was possessed. Do you guys think he was possessed?
I don't think he was possessed as much as he was seeing demons.
He was haunted.
He was
I think he was
haunted.
being haunted.
Okay, I saw that as possessed. So in my mind, he's possessed. He doesn't die.
He did not have a lot of cats following him around,
That's
so
true.
we can't really say he was possessed.
I'm sorry, when those cats showed up and attacked, I yelled cat attack like I was about to watch, I don't know, a Nickelodeon show called Cat Attack, and I was 8 years old. I loved that moment. So funny. It was great. Anyway, so here's my pitch. If Dr. Cartwright is demonically possessed, he doesn't die.
Okay.
He does show up to court.
Oh.
The prosecution is going after him. You know, the state is going after him, and he fully demons out on the fucking stand. And the father stands up, performs a real quick, like crazy ass exorcism. It gets really loud. Everybody's screaming, and then poof, the demon's gone. Nothing left but like the gaping silence that was once screams.
Yeah.
Smash cuts to Laura Linney, and she goes, The defense rests. Credits.
I love it. I would just like to plus it up with at least a shot of the gavel hitting the judge in on the head.
Yes.
You know, some real poltergeist activity. We have to have a moment.
Amazing.
I love a judge who is committed to making the wrong decision every time. That's why I'm such a fan of the current Supreme Court. I also love that she is wearing a robe that is meant to make her social class indistinguishable. And she chooses to accessorize that robe with the biggest, audacious fucking scarf you could ever wear. She's like, no, I want you to know I'm richer than you, and I will judge you for it.
That's got to be like a last minute costuming decision.
It is. I don't think it's the actress's fault. No, at all.
No. I always like to think, well, how did they arrive at this decision?
Yeah.
Like there must have been a thing where once they sat her down, got her on camera, they realized,
oh, we got to hide the mic. We can see the mic.
Hide a mic, or it's just going to be such a boring costume to stare at for 2 hours.
It is just a black robe. Yeah, I mean.
That they were like, can we give her a little color? It needs a little texture. Like I need something.
I need a pop.
I need this shot to I need something to pop a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little bland. What can we do? And they went to the costume truck. They pulled out a scarf and they were like, what about this? And they were like, great. Let's shoot.
Do we still have that scarf selection from the Reagan biopic?
It does look like a Nancy Reagan scarf.
It is very Nancy Reagan.
Here's my theory, because they also have her in a bizarre wig. That actress has been a judge on Law and Order for so long that I was like, oh, it's that lady. She's real hard on crime. Like, I immediately recognized her. And I think maybe they were trying to be like, if she's just in the judge thing, this just looks like Law and Order. And I was like, you could add the sound effects, just the dun-duns at all of the act breaks. And this movie is a Law and Order episode.
Just like demon. It's like the gavel sound. Yeah.
And so I think maybe that's why they were like, fancy her up a little bit.
Yeah. We need something. It's not interesting. It's boring to look at.
We couldn't afford CCH Pounder, so.
Yes.
And we wish they could have.
This is the era of mid-2000s movies where they were color correcting everything magenta.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like this movie is so magenta. Like everything is like rusty red.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. It's also really dark.
Yeah.
Like it's very dark.
There's not a single day of good weather in this entire movie.
No, when they showed what they wrote on her grave or whatever, it was hard for me to read because it was so dark. I was like,
font was a bad choice. Yeah.
They're even going to school at night.
I know.
Yes.
I was like, does she have a job? Like, why is she not in school during the day like a normal college student? Why are there other college students here at midnight?
There's sometimes that she like starts school during the day. Like there's that one where it's like raining and she starts taking the test. And then when she looks outside, it's night. And I couldn't figure that out. I also couldn't figure out how many days were passing in the trial, because like at the end of the movie, she wins and goes out for drinks. Ostensibly, that's one night, right? That's the end of the day. She's at drinks at night. The next day, one would assume they go to the graveyard. Then that night, she's like turning her clock back around. And I was like, well, what happened the night before?
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not the first night you're sleeping back in this apartment with the creepy clock. So like, why do we care this night? Yeah, the days and nights are a little weird.
Yeah.
This is the same time period as when we did, what was that one with the marionettes?
Oh.
Where it's all color corrected red,
Yes. Oh,
like
shit.
red and gray.
That's Mary Shaw?
Yeah, starring Ryan Quanten. Pretty fun. True Blood alum.
Why haven't I seen this movie?
It's called Dead Silence.
Dead Silence.
It is about a lady who just cannot stop snatching people's tongues, and you should watch it.
It's bonkers. It is a ride.
Oh yeah, he shot this before we did True Blood. Okay.
Literally immediately before.
Yep.
But much like this movie, it's almost like they are shooting every hallway on a soundstage.
Yeah.
With gels on the windows, and one side is green and one side is that kind of magenta color. And it doesn't matter what building you're in or where you are at, every hallway is shot that way in darkness, so they all look the same.
Yeah.
There was a light bulb shortage in that town, and you had two choices, magenta or green bulbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's just, mid-century Christmas. That's all we're doing.
It's Christmas at Spencer's Gifts is what it is. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it was wild to me. I know we're going to get to the plot and we'll talk through this in just a second.
Yeah.
But letting the jury recommend sentencing, I was like, In what world? Like, what are we doing?
And just skipping the month between.
Due process, you mean?
Yeah,
Yes.
just jumping straight to, well, you know what? Usually we sentence like a few weeks from now or a month from now, but you know what? I'm just going to do it right now.
I like that they're like, excuse me, judge, for plot reasons, we'd like to sentence now.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to do that. Also, even if they like requested that, the judge would be like, cool, I'll get you a judgment in 3 days or whatever. Because they're going to take time to consider it themselves as well.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to be like, I don't know, the defense spoke last, so you're free to go. I don't know. Like, they're definitely going to do their job.
She had scarves to buy.
She had scarves to buy. She had to hit Hermes before it closed.
I got to go to the Reagan estate sale, guys. I'm busy all weekend, crafting with Paige.
That's what's up.
But maybe we should just go through the plot scene by scene, though, Paige.
Let's do it. So it does say based on a true story. Again, the true story is horrifying, which makes this kind of offensively gross, but we're going to go through it anyway.
Yeah.
We start with a barbed wire fence and a bunch of pumpkins because we will find out that they did an exorcism on fucking Halloween.
I love when they reveal that in the trial.
That's right.
And they're like, why did you do that? And he goes, well, many cultures think that the realms between the two worlds are, the thinnest at that time. So the demons are the strongest, and I wanted a fair fight. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
Why would you pick the night that they are the strongest?
Do it on Christmas.
Bro,
That's when they're the
hell yeah,
weakest.
dog. Yeah.
Come
Or
on.
Easter. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Pick an equinox. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Pick another pagan holiday, guys. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let's go. I think Yule sounds like a great time. But we close on this old, definitely haunted looking house that I'm pretty sure is on the Universal backlot because it looks like the Bates Motel from the other direction, but it also looks like a haunted farmhouse that we've seen in like a million other movies. I don't think this was a built set. I think it was whatever they had. And then we have the Young Frankenstein horse noises just in the background. Anytime we look at the barn, it's like Frau Blucher is on screen.
Yes.
That's all that's happening.
They realized in post, like, we never showed that they have horses, so we need to, like...
Right.
That's what they should have done for the relationship. Just, like, as soon as you saw that man walk, the college kid walk off screen, he should have been like, hey, Emily, can we go out on a date? And she should have been like, yes. Just fix it all with audio and post.
Literally one 80-yard line could have fixed that relationship problem for me, for sure. You're right.
Hey, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you too.
It's so great that we met 6 months ago and have had a healthy relationship ever since. I also think, because they do just be putting horse noises around the farm.
Yeah.
But they also have cat noises anytime Emily is on screen.
They got to foreshadow that kitty attack, Paige. The most adorable demon attack I've ever witnessed ever.
The softest demon for sure.
I have 5 cats. So, like, when it was 6, I was like, yeah, that'd be scary. Like, that's just one more.
Oops.
I don't know. Like, I fight 5 cats on a daily basis.
Well, then you're prepared. But my favorite is when they would overlay cat meows over her screams.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was really fun, too. I was like, sound is working overtime on this one.
Yeah, why wasn't anyone like, guys, I think it's the cats.
Yeah. Has anyone checked the cat?
Maybe if we just put these cats outside, she'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, is she just super allergic? Like, we thought her eyes were rolling back, but they're just swelling shut.
That's what it is. Yeah.
But we see someone in the window because who has arrived? The medical examiner and the police are there. They don't have anyone in cuffs. They're not questioning anybody. They're just like, get a look at this weird looking body. Like, that's all that they're doing is standing around being like, yikes.
I'm sure that happens. I'm just going to say that because that's sort of their job, Like,
Sure.
I don't know what water cooler talk is like for medical examiners, but I don't want to have it.
Also, they've seen like bodies torn in half.
Yeah.
Right.
All things considered, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
They shouldn't
yeah.
be weirded out by any of this.
The medical examiner's like, oh, you got a few cracked teeth and some broken ribs. Big deal.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, they've seen like decapitated heads. They're fine. They should be fine with this.
you're not wrong.
They're so numb to it at this point.
It's not the bodies from Seven, like whatever city that's in, that medical examiner, I do not envy. But this one, I'm like, this should be a fairly normal call.
Yeah, they've seen bodies like burnt beyond recognition.
Yes.
They should just be like, who wants Starbucks?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, hey guys, I brought bagels. Just don't worry about it.
You guys want Nashville's hot for lunch? Nashville hot chicken? You guys want some chicken?
Oh, yeah, that sounds good. I had that yesterday.
We do Quiznos. They close them all. Damn it. But he goes into the room. He's in there for like a minute or two while everyone else outside the room is looking around like, which one of us are going to prison?
Right.
Somebody is, right?
I honestly am shocked they didn't pin it on Jason, the guy who overly attached to someone too soon.
No, that would be Conjuring 3.
Yes, it is. Yeah, the bad one.
But it was also a real case. But yeah.
Well, yeah.
He did do that, though. He definitely murdered those people.
Yeah, he definitely murdered those people.
Dark. But no, the medical examiner comes out and is just like, eeny, meeny, miny, priest, come with us. And they're like, all right, sorry. We figured this would happen. But we cut to him being led down a street, just paparazzi, news cameras everywhere. But because there's no defining cut of where he is, you're like, is this in front of the house? Like, there was nothing but fields and pumpkins, and now there's cameras? But no. It is implied that it was one of his early hearings with his public defender.
Yeah.
Where he has decided to plead not guilty and try and pursue a trial. So
Not because he wants to prove his innocence.
Right.
But because he wants to tell Emily's story.
They do introduce super early on in this movie that the murderer will like testify in his own defense. And I love when they do that, because they always get convicted.
It's a bad idea to do.
Yeah.
Like, most lawyers will tell you not to do it.
It's terrible. I mean, and she is a terrible lawyer who gets very lucky.
I mean, her closing arguments are bonkers, but we'll talk about it when we get to it.
Also, you would think that, like, she wouldn't, for a firm that represents the archdiocese, they know where a lot of bodies are buried. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, they have defended priests for some very, very horrible actions, horrifying actions. So you think, like, this woman is come prepared.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She's got an excuse for anything that a priest does. And you really feel like by the end of this movie, she's like, I really don't know how to defend a priest.
Yeah, and she should be used to it by now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Here's the other crazy thing, because they say that the archdiocese asked for them specifically, which is bonkers that the archdiocese would not already have legal counsel on retainer, but we can ignore that. But they asked for her after she got a murderer off. And I'm like, you want me to believe that the church is in the right in this movie when they were like, that murderer went free, get that lady. Like, that's the kind of lawyer we need. Someone who can get a murderer off, because they also...
Well, because they know that this priest murdered this young girl.
I know.
They know.
You absolutely want someone with a good track record for getting murderers to go free when you're helping your murderer friend who murdered somebody.
Because again, the church they're not the good guys in this movie. There are no good guys in this movie. There's no good guys.
Yeah. It's just all bad guys.
The movie doesn't know that. We know that.
Yeah.
The movie is very confused.
The movie really thinks that, like, we're siding with the good guys and we are fully watching the villains of this movie like they're heroes the whole time.
It's Well, especially in this next scene where we meet the other lawyer.
Yeah.
Or at least the firm that he works for.
I'm on his side in all of this, honestly.
Same. Well, and they position it like he works for some firm. And I was like, do you mean the DA? Because, like, this would be the You don't just get to choose. It's whoever the DA is.
It definitely
I've
would be
watched
the
enough
DA.
Law and Order to know that.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, well, we've got this Christian guy, but he's not the DA, but we're going to let him run point on this one. Like, that's not how it works. That's crazy.
Yeah, I wasn't sure, like, what was the case? Was it, like, the state versus?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah.
It was the people versus.
The people versus.
Yeah.
If it's a criminal trial, it's the people versus.
It's not the family suing for
No.
wrongful.
No, this is a criminal trial. Jail time is on the line. They definitely should sue civilly, or I guess the state can't, but you know.
That's the other thing about this movie, is it made the legal system very confusing for me.
I just think it inaccurately depicts it.
Yes.
So it is confusing, but like none of this would happen. Like they would never let you try, because if you were actually trying an exorcism,
Right.
the defense would get up there and be like, well, it was an exorcism, here are all those things. And then the prosecution would stand up and be like, okay, can you prove that? Can you prove that? Can you prove that? All right, then get the fuck off. What are we talking about?
Here's the thing, Todd. So this has actually happened multiple times in usually publication disputes. So sometimes you can't technically tell people what they can believe. And so you can't arbitrate or litigate their belief. You can only litigate their actions. But his actions are enough to get him convicted of murder.
Yeah.
So why we are litigating his belief at all is bonkers.
Yeah.
But I also think maybe some of this is the original case took place in Germany, obviously different legal system.
Is that why she's talking German when she's demonic half the time?
Well, I think
It sounds a lot like German.
it is.
Yeah,
One of them
okay.
is German, but in the real case, it's because she was German. She knew that language.
So in the real case, did she speak English when she was possessed?
That would be hilarious.
Yes, but they're like, well, we own a TV.
Oh, yeah. And like all of our pop culture is English. So
Yeah.
Also, they teach you to speak English in Germany as opposed to the States where...
Well, it was 1976, so it is a long time ago, but she would have definitely been exposed to English. I think the piece that maybe is missing from the original case is that they probably did not have the medical interventions we have now. Like if this is happening today, I think there's a lot more we can do in the medical health, like the mental health realm that they probably couldn't do in 76. But even then they had options.
yeah, now we have Gumbidol or whatever it was called.
Yeah. Gelutol.
Yeah, whatever.
Or whatever.
What is the one from Arrested Development? Because that's what it felt.
Timosil.
Timosil, yeah.
Timosil.
I was like, it's Timosil, yeah.
But we then meet Laura Linney. She's the defense attorney, and you can tell that she's, air quotes, evil because she's in a bar with a low-cut shirt.
She's a little loose.
She's a little loosey-goosey. Her necklines get higher as the movie goes on. But her partner of the firm that she works on comes over and is just like, good job getting that serial killer off. Who cares if he kills again? Not our problem. I got this priest for you, and if you get him off, you'll make partner. And she's just like, ha ha ha.
I think she's probably a little too old to get him off.
Oh no, it's Laura Linney. She's gorgeous.
She is. I mean, you're not wrong. It's Laura Linney, so.
Even a priest wouldn't be immune. Just saying.
Facts.
Not facts. We're just saying, is it possible?
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Is it possible, guys?
Is it possible that she could seduce a priest?
Is it possible that the events in the movie, The Spotlight.
Facts are indisputable.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
Oh God, the fact that she's just like, instead of being like, hey, is there a reasonable doubt? And it's like, no, there's not, lady. And she's like, forget that. Is it possible? And I was like, technically anything is possible. Like people would have different beliefs, and I might believe that there's a spiritual element to this, but I also know that he didn't take that girl to a hospital.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's the end of it.
Or call an ambulance or whatever. Like, he
Yeah.
didn't have to take him, like, something. He could have done anything.
Nobody called 911. Nobody
did.
Nobody did. And in the original case, her family is also held legally liable. And in this movie, they keep them out of it. But I think that's why there's no suit, because the family's like, no, she was possessed. And it's like, in theory, they would potentially be liable for neglect as well, because they also did not do anything.
I just want to go ahead and state, as the defense attorney for the family, that they didn't call 911 because in Germany it's 112. So
Fair enough.
Okay. Well, that explains it.
Technicality.
I'm going to be the defense attorney for the rest of the family and just say that they're not liable because technically the cats are their guardians. And you can't hold a cat accountable for murder.
that's why it's not called accountable, guys. It's accountable.
Yeah. Burglary, different story. Cats, burglary, all the time.
Yeah, they're guilty of that just by walking around.
Yeah. Stealing our hearts,
Mm-hmm.
our souls.
You guys,
And our souls. Wait, you said souls.
you guys must have only a few cats. When you have 5 cats, let's just say I'd have laughed out loud had they like body slammed a few cats during the cat attack. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If it went full ass cartoon in that scene and they're throwing cats like they're stuffed animals, I'd have laughed.
Cats are resilient.
I wish the cats had gone like full thing.
Yes.
You know, and like morphed into something.
Oh, that actually would have been scary. Cat attack was funny to me. Yeah.
Yes.
That would have been scary as shit.
Okay, here's what I want is the things that they were doing in When Evil Lurks, where they would just set up a shot, and the way that the shot worked, it cast shadows
Yeah.
that would look like things.
Okay.
And if you had the cats all sitting there and then just turned and it was like the devil in the robe,
Oh.
and then you cut back and the
it's just
cat's
the cats
eyes
with their
just
paws
paws.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant like with doing shadow puppets with their paws.
Making shadow puppets on the wall, yeah.
Shit would have been hilarious.
Just that like reflection off their eyes. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
You could have done so much. Anyway, so she shows up inside his prison cell, and I was like, they're not going to give them an interview room? She could get straight up murdered immediately. Like, why would they do this?
They did this because they had, it seems like they only had like 6 sets.
Yeah.
And the whole movie takes place at those 6 locations. And that prison location was already, like the studio that was also the interrogation room was already booked for an episode of Law and Order. So it all took place in the cell.
Yeah, it's like they shot nights on pre-existing TV sets.
Yeah.
Yes. That's why it's midnight when they're at school.
Exactly. They're like, guys, Gilmore Girls gets
Yeah.
here in 2 hours. We got to wrap this up.
Guys, Veronica Mars, it's a 6 a.m. call time, so we got to get out of here, guys.
We gotta go. But this is where she's like, you could just take the deal they're gonna offer you, which is gonna be like 6 months, but it'll be times like he would have gotten the same sentence if he had just taken the deal. And he's like, no, I have to tell her story. And I'm like, maybe have someone publish it after? Like, this seems.
This priest does not understand what's at stake here.
No.
This man has he's completely out of touch with reality.
Somebody explain to him what a book deal is and get him an agent.
So here's the thing, you can't profit off your own crimes, but that doesn't mean that you can't get somebody else to publish it. Like, if you just want to get the word out there.
Somebody get this man, I don't know, he's a priest, but like I would just give that to Natalie and be like, here,
Yes.
publish this book. And then like, we'll be rich together.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to launder that money, but yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I guess because we're about to get married, that would be illegal.
But he could write a book about like possessions.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. He could be the real life Father Amort, right? Like that guy who...
No, from Pope's Exorcism, yes.
Yeah.
But she agrees. She's like, all right, I'll defend you and I'll let you testify. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, cross fingers behind the back. Because she definitely did not want to, but
Yeah.
she's like, all right.
You never want your murderer to testify in his own defense.
No.
Ever.
No. And so she then shows up at Emily Rose's house where a cat immediately hisses at her for a jump scare.
Yeah.
That's how we know.
That's how you know they're still possessed. That's where the demon went, the cats.
That was Chekhov's cat, Paige.
Chekhov's cat. It's hung over the mantle, and you know it's going to go off by Act 3.
Exactly.
We'll get to it, but when did we see like a shadowy man in a robe? Was that in a flashback sequence? That was Emily?
So we actually don't see it for a little bit. The first time we ever see it is we have a cut back to him spending the night in prison and he
Yeah.
sees through the bars.
Yeah. And it's almost just like a shadowy figure because it's so dark in there. But yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and then eventually Laura Linney sees him, and then in flashbacks for Emily, she sees him as well.
The progression of how scary that is so funny to me because it like decrescendos super hard. Because like the first time it's just like a shadowy figure. And the last time you see him, he like does like the what up bro nod to one of your main characters. And you're like, are we about to play cornhole with the devil? Like what was that?
Cool collar, bro.
Yeah. I got these puka shell necklaces in hell. Like it's just strange.
I got an extra ticket to DMB. Let's go. Red Rocks.
go. Red Rock.
I hear Bret Michaels is touring again.
I think the devil would be super excited about that.
Of course. As someone who's played a show with Bret Michaels, yes.
I saw Bret Michaels once without his wig.
Bandana.
Yeah, which is a wig.
Wait,
It was wild.
are you serious?
Yeah, he was in public, and I know it was him.
Can I guess what it looked like?
Go ahead.
Bunch of snakes.
You're right.
Nailed it. I knew it.
It was a bunch. That's why it blew my mind. It was wild.
Awesome.
I was kind of surprised it was happening, but it was.
Does he have side hair and just no top, or is it just all gone?
Like the bed skirt?
Yes. Long side hair.
That's what I thought. I thought he was like Kid Rock from here down and Dr. Phil from here up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my
okay.
God.
All right.
Exactly right.
I love a guy who will rock the Hulk Hogan. And like, let's go.
I'm just going to say allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Of course.
I could be wrong. Allegedly.
I just want you all to know where my terrible brain is right now. And it is a parody of Every Rose Has Its Thorn with Emily Rose got murdered. Like that's in my brain right now because I'm a terrible person.
That's who the, prosecution should have brought to stand. Just have
Yeah.
Bret Michaels show up and sing that.
Be like, it's a possibility, something to think about.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we do get a little bit of a flashback here to like who Emily was and what her dream was, because this is the first time it's introduced where it's like she was very happy until she went to university.
I know.
And we find out she like gets the acceptance letter. She's so happy. I want to know what it is about university that they're like, that's where the demon happened. Do you think it was the drinking, the sex, or just knowledge?
Being away from her family.
There you go.
Yeah. So I do think like this, if you look at this movie as like an allegory for like a girl going to school and being sexually assaulted and like dealing with the trauma of that.
I think that works so much better.
In my mind, that's what actually happened to Emily Rose. She didn't have the vocabulary or whatever to speak about it and get help with it, and her family killed her. Like, that is what happened. Not her family, but like...
By not getting her the help that she needs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just put her on the damn it all, or whatever the team is still.
Yeah, also, it would have been like, again, going back to my pitch, it would have been cool if like she had been on some kind of medication and then she goes to college and she stops taking it because she's like independent now.
Yeah.
And then this starts happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like there could have been more ways to obscure the truth.
Right.
You know, and go, what is really happening? What did start this?
Yeah.
Well, and I mean, here's the other thing too. It's like we've introduced Jason. We don't use him at all. We've introduced that she is very, very conservative. So one would assume maybe unfamiliar with sexual relationships in that way. How much scarier would it be to find out that what really happened to her is that Jason assaulted her and she did not know how to verbalize that as what happened to her.
Yeah.
And it has impacted her mental health to the point that she is now unable to care for herself. I mean, that's a horrifying but potentially real and grounding storyline, but it's not demons.
Right, yeah.
So that's why, yeah.
Paige, what you're saying is we're not sure if it's fact, but is it possible?
I think it's possible.
This is the problem with demonology in general and demons as the villain in movies, because unless you're really threading a needle to show how the demon is an allegory for whatever the character is going through,
Right.
it's just demons.
Right.
So there's nothing actually interesting going on with any of these character arcs.
Right.
It's just demons, and it's just propaganda for the Catholic Church.
Right.
And Pfizer, and for Pfizer.
Yeah, that's why like we're you know, that's why we're kind of pulled towards like, oh, there's a story there.
Right.
With Laura Linney's character processing that she let an actual serial killer off the hook.
The fact that that is a plot that is never addressed drove me insane, because I agree completely.
That movie, that struggling with that action.
And with potentially maybe doing it again, like, fuck, yeah.
Right, and being like, okay, I helped a known murderer get off, and I'm not able to live with myself.
Right.
I would struggle, yeah.
And then they give me a priest to defend, which should be like, on paper, well, this is a cakewalk. I couldn't have a more, you know, upstanding individual to defend in this case. And it's clearly they're blaming him for something that he did not do.
Right.
But then what if over the course of it, instead of being like, I think it was demons, she's like, maybe this guy is lying.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm going to make the same mistake.
It's the movie Doubt at that point.
Oh,
yes.
shit, that's a great movie.
Yes, and that's a far more compelling movie.
Yes.
Because then we're like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I think because they gotta frame it like a horror movie
Right.
and show us the stuff from Emily's point of view, then it's just demons. And nothing, it doesn't matter what people are going through. It doesn't matter if they grow or if they don't, because it's just demons.
Yeah, I almost feel like you could go opposite and start it as like, it's demons. And then the real horrifying part is finding out that the people who were supposed to love and protect this person hurt them.
Right.
And like, that's the real horror.
Yeah.
And her family was negligent, and this priest was stupid.
Yes.
Yes.
And that other doctor was an alcoholic, you know, whatever.
Right.
And just like the system failed her.
Yes.
Right.
You know, that is to me more terrifying than it's just demons.
Yes. And to be honest, I feel like that's what the state is arguing, because in this very next scene, we get through, he shows them the post-mortem photo, which it's the one in this movie looks very much like Annalise's, but Annalise's is somehow infinitely more horrifying. Like, the real one's so much worse. Don't Google it unless you have a strong stomach.
Well, she was a skeleton, I mean.
Yeah.
And then they also introduced, like, by the way, she was on Gambutol. And we see this in the notes, in Laura Linney's notes. So we know she's going to go after it at some point.
Yeah.
But we cut to Laura Linney asleep, and her watch is on the bedside table, and it stops at 3 a.m.
The witching hour.
The witching hour, which is nonsense. Which time zone?
Everyone knows the devil travels the globe like Santa Claus every day.
Yeah.
It's cardio. He hates it. That's why he's pissed, Paige.
His favorite motto is, it's 3 a.m. somewhere.
That's honestly, ever since Jimmy Buffett died and has been writing bangers like that in hell, it's become a much better place. They're throwing beach balls around. It's great.
3 p.m. somewhere. But during opening arguments, she elects to do her opening arguments after the defense has presented their case and notices that her watch has stopped.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh no. But this is where we get into, first of all, the opening statements, which are the most rational thing that happens in this movie. At which point I'm like, the state wins because Occam's razor.
Well, and also because he is criminally negligent.
Yes,
And
yes.
honestly, so was pretty much everybody there.
Yes. But we get Dr. Vogel, who was her pediatrician, not a psychiatrist, who then she calls from a payphone. And this is where it talks about she met a boy named Jason at a dance. But that's the only time we get info about Jason. But it's almost like they're setting it up that something bad happened with Jason and then he's just around.
Also, time out. A dance?
A dance.
You don't go to a dance at college. What is this?
Guys, it may very well have been like a Lee University kind of a college. And like,
I mean,
Yeah, but you establish it. That's just lazy writing.
Yeah.
She met him at a dance. It's like, why not just say she met a boy in her class?
I mean, that makes way more sense. Yeah.
yeah, or at a party.
At a party, whatever.
But dancing is the devil swinging.
Also, so let's unpack this.
Yes.
She goes to school.
Yeah.
Right.
In the first week, there's like a formal school dance.
We did have a foam party my first week.
It's the come together dance where
I
everyone gets
guess,
to meet
but, like,
everybody. I mean, I think it's ridiculous too.
She doesn't have any friends.
that we see. Not
Wow.
a single friend.
Wow, are we about to bully Emily Rose, this fucking nerd who went to school and didn't have any friends?
No, I'm just saying
We
she
don't
has
see any friends.
No friends.
True.
She's got obviously has no friends
No.
because
Right.
no one helps her other than this boy that she met once.
Right. Suspicious.
So she took herself to the dance and
Right.
then met him there, like what, at a punch bowl? Like, this is bad writing.
yeah. It's,
He's in her class. He's literally in class with her. Why didn't they say she met him at class?
I mean, this movie, one of the big screenwriting rules that this movie breaks over and over again is causality, is just like have reasonable reasons for people to be in places.
Right.
And he's in her class. All it would have to be is like,
they would have met day one in her class.
They would have met before the dance.
Yes.
He could have technically asked her to the dance. Yeah.
I'll give you the dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they would have met in class.
Yes.
he lives in her dorm, like
Yeah.
wherever. But yeah, a dance. And then this doctor had to call her from a payphone.
Again, 1950s teenage romance here. It's terrible writing.
Yeah, this is the Enchantment Under the Sea dance that they met at college.
This is like The Blob. We're like watching The Blob.
Oh.
This is how the teens and The Blob get to know each other.
I wish we were watching The Blob.
I know. It's a great movie.
We recently did The Blob, and it changed us.
It was great.
Have you done The Blob remake?
Yes, that's
That's
the
the
one
one
we
we
did,
did.
actually. Sorry, I should have
Oh, dude.
clarified. Yeah.
The 1980s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see the 60s one first?
No.
I've seen the 60s one. Yes.
Oh, man.
It's bonkers.
If you guys are listening, both are great movies, but watch the original. This is to your listeners. Watch the original Blob
Yes.
from the 60s with Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
And then on the next night, watch the remake. Because the remake is not only a fantastic remake, but it has all of these winks to the first film.
Yep.
And it's the only time I've ever seen a remake pull off Easter eggs, in a sense, because they keep turning the original movie on its head. When you think, okay, this is what's going to happen, because that's what happened in the original, they subvert it in a really fun way.
Yeah.
Could not recommend both of those movies more. But the Blob is the original one is very simple. Like, no one has any real character development.
Right.
But it's also got a great banger of a song.
Very much.
Beware of the blob.
It was a dance at the time.
Ba-da-ba-da. Maybe that's what they were dancing to at Emily Rose's college dance.
Her college. Here's the other thing too. I was in a sorority and we had dances, and I don't think I think if she met someone at one of those dances, the sexual story is probably more accurate. Like, than whatever. Like, it's college, and it's college in 2005.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have a cell phone?
I mean,
2005.
Yeah, I had
Yeah,
a cell phone in 2005 and was in college. Yeah.
Everybody did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a Nokia brick, but like 2005 is when we're starting to get like the sidekicks and stuff. Like, they started to get cool at that point. So yeah, the whole payphone thing was bonkers. And you would have had a dorm phone. We had a dorm phone too, because they hadn't taken them out yet. It's weird. Anyway, so this is where we get her first story of what happens in the dorm, where she wakes up and smells something burning at 3 a.m., gets out, walks down the hallway through the green and magenta lights. The dorm door is open at the end of the hall. She closes it. She comes back to the room and goes back to bed. This dorm is empty, according to her. I guess a holiday weekend. But even then, there were people around.
There were.
The fact that it was like totally empty was weird.
Didn't she just meet someone at a dance page?
At a dance?
Famously has many people. Yeah. I mean, it was a ghost town, though, at this night. I'm not saying you're wrong.
I kind of thought they were implying that maybe she's having a more of a hallucinatory dream-like experience.
I would agree.
I think this shows that she is an unreliable narrator.
Yes.
100%.
Because of the trauma that she experiences in a moment from now. Because she gets back to bed at like 3:02. I think it even shows the clock.
Yeah.
And that's when the terrible shit starts.
But terrible shit, like she is pressed down into the bed. Her hands are held above her head. It is very, I would say, evocative of an assault scenario. But no, they don't delve into that at all.
Yeah.
But she ends up in the university hospital with a doctor that tests her and says she doesn't have any drugs. I think it's epilepsy, but we get a shot of her in kind of the hospital. And at this point, I was like, okay, this actress's physicality is amazing.
She is.
Regardless of how this movie is failing, she is not. Because that's amazing.
Yeah, I think all the performances are fucking great. Like, they're killing it.
Yeah.
But I'm not surprised. Like, everyone who's in this, like Father Moore, I've seen, he's in everything.
Yeah, Tom Wilkinson, A-list actor.
Yeah, like, they're huge. They're huge
Laura
stars.
Linney.
Yeah, like, they're huge. So, like, of course.
And they're all like classically trained actors.
Yes. But this is where they put her on Gambutrol. But this is where they introduce a problem in the movie because they say she stopped filling her prescription. However, they establish that she takes Gambutrol for months after this because through Halloween, she's taking it.
Oh, I thought they stopped her from taking it and then they decided to do the exorcism on Halloween.
No, he says she was on Gambutrol during the exorcism. So it clearly wasn't working.
Because that's what was making the devil
have access to her.
Take her easy.
Yeah.
Also, didn't they say, or did I misunderstand that or mishear, that she had a lesion on her frontal lobe?
Yes, that they're indicators from her frontal lobe that she had epilepsy.
Yeah.
And they say it once and then they never come back to it again.
Never come back to it, right?
Yeah.
And no one ever decided, let's get eyes on this thing.
The prosecution does many times be like, but she had epilepsy, though. I don't know if you remember from Act 1, we proved that in this court. She has epilepsy.
Yeah, well, and the real case, too. Annalise also had epilepsy. In this one, at one point, Laura Linney's like, well, couldn't she have been, had psychosis, and that's different than epilepsy? But then they'll establish later that they can be combined. But also, everyone's forgetting she's 19. She is prime time for an onset of various disorders that, almost all of them could cause this. And you would probably try out a couple different medications and have a doctor seeing you regularly.
And the trigger could just be leaving a overly protective home and being in a new weird, you don't even have to take it to an extreme. You could even just tell the story of she's just scared being out in the real world.
Yeah. Yeah, she's scared. Or there are a ton of real world applications of like a lot of people experience an onset because of a drug sometimes, especially around this time. All she needs is spiked punch. Like they're at that dance.
I mean, maybe she did.
Okay,
Yeah.
here's another pitch.
Give it to me.
She goes to a party.
Uh-huh.
She meets Jason.
Yep.
They hit it off. They drop acid together.
There you go.
And then she wigs out, and Jason's motivation is, I broke this girl's brain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's my fault.
Yeah.
So I
Right.
gotta, you know what I mean? Like, there could have been like a secret like that we saw
Right.
that the parents didn't even know about, that nobody knew about. And he could confess, like, I think it's my fault.
Right.
And they're like, what happened? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
again, what are the stakes here?
Well, and that's something that people don't necessarily automatically know that could happen to them. And it doesn't happen every time. And so like, that is something that's treatable afterwards though. So like, if she got to a doctor,
Yeah.
she'd be okay.
Yeah, or we could just say that, sure, it was just demons, but he thought, his red herring was he did something
Right.
bad.
Yeah.
Right. Like then we found out they had bum tabs and they didn't actually trip or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, yes.
There wasn't anything in that, man. She's just trying to make a buck. Do you know how expensive DMB tickets are for Red Rocks?
Do you know, I've been selling oregano everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one thing this movie was missing, was like a wacky
Satanic panic drug scare.
Weed dealer.
Yeah.
But just
Yes.
like a little comic relief.
Yeah, just like you knock on the dorm room door, it opens, crash into you's playing, smokes billowing out, and
Yeah, Laura Linney's like waving her. Oh God, like we needed a little bit of that, and where he
Yeah.
like flirts with Laura Linney.
oh yeah.
Yeah. The defense calls Pookie
Yeah,
to the stand.
And come to find out, the big twist is Pookie is the guy in the hoodie at the end.
exactly.
That nods
It was
to
just
the
a
father.
big hoodie.
Yeah. What's up, bro?
Anyway, we cut to her kind of reviewing that day in the cell with the priest. And the
Yeah.
priest is like, hey, I got something to tell you. You might get super haunted by demons because you're helping me. Oops, sorry. Should have told you about that. And she's like, yeah, I'm not worried about it. Still not convinced demons are real. Just trying to do my job. And he's like, well, okay, then fine. But we get more information about Emily at college. And she's like, seeing faces in the clouds, seeing faces in the windows. She's running. We get a crazy jump scare with one of her like classmates has his eyes bleeding. And all of this comes from Jason talking to Laura Linney, being like, yeah, she said everyone's eyes were bleeding and she was running and screaming and like, I love her, man. Like I just
she's
met
the
her,
one.
but I love her. She's the one.
She's great. She's got a great personality. We talk about a lot of stuff.
Plus, we live in the same dorm, so it's like fate, right?
It's like convenient. It's also like the scene of her running in the eyes, like that shit really scared me. Like the classroom at midnight, I was like, I'm never going to be able to wake up for lab in the morning. Like all of that actually did scare me though. Like it was very scary.
The first guy got me, but after that, I was like, eh.
After that, it does get more palatable because you've seen it a few times. But that first guy, I jumped. My Buttercup like jumped off of me because she was like, snuggled.
Yeah, well, Buttercup's a dog. I was gonna say up close because she was trying to possess you. But she runs through a bunch of demon faces who are just people walking around horrified at this crying woman.
At this person who's experiencing a psychotic break, possibly because of trauma. Like, yes.
Yes. She goes to the chapel on campus. And the people who immediately leave after are just like, I don't know what that is, but like...
I mean, I would leave too if I was just minding my own fucking business in the pew of a church and someone came in, turned around, and yelled at me like that.
Screamed.
Like, scream like we're at like a Slipknot festival and the pit's about to get nuts.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
that's how she was screaming. And I sort of mean that as a compliment because it sounds awesome.
She's a good screamer.
Yes, she
She's
does
an amazing screamer.
Yeah.
So good. He comes in and she's standing there like catatonic. And we do hear the sounds of cats in the background. There are no cats around, but they are playing the sounds
Wow, you got a good ear.
They're
Yeah.
Lucifer's Cats page. They're everywhere.
everywhere. But she then just says like, don't touch me, and does almost a death drop. Just an amazing back bend.
Yes.
Like RuPaul would be proud. And it's just like, don't touch me, but never leave me. And he's like, I never did leave her.
And I never
stayed till
did.
the end.
This man has attachment issues.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
This man needs help for codependency.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what was his mom like?
Ooh.
What was his house like?
Fun fact, giant cat.
She was a huge cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, 8 nipples, whole deal.
Are you suggesting that Jason was raised feral?
Yep.
Okay.
By a giant cat.
Yeah.
Like Totoro.
All right.
With 7 other siblings.
Yes.
Exactly.
These are my siblings: Biscuit,
Biscuit.
Stormy, Schmittens, Peaches, Twinkle.
Faux paws, because he's got 4 paws.
And Jason.
And Jason.
And it's just Jason Voorhees.
Yeah. No, well, it's like Dune, where they're just like, here are all of these fun space names, and then Paul and Johnny Idaho, or whatever his name was.
Yep. Same with Star Wars.
Duncan Idaho. Same with Star Wars.
Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, Luke.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we cut to the nightmare where he's in bed with her, trying to hold her still, and wakes up. She's not in bed. She's on the floor. Full contortion.
Yes.
That's creepy. That was a creepy shot.
It was
Very
this
creepy
scared
shot.
the hell out of me. And then I was like, oh, that's the way Schnuckel looks, my dog, when she wants belly rubs.
Well,
Aw.
I think the thing that got me was she was so still.
Yes.
And her eyes are all rolled back. I was like, this girl has the muscle strength
Yes.
of a bodybuilder.
Because she's on like her feet and her shoulder. Those are the only parts of her
Yes.
body that's like making touch of like that are touching the ground. And she is like light as a feather, stiff as a board.
Yeah.
She is stiff as a board in that position. And I don't have the core strength for that.
Nah.
We skipped past it, but I meant to say when we were talking about when she wakes up and is going through the empty dorm, I did have a note that they switched to handheld for that moment, and
They do that a few times.
they did a very nice, like, I was like, oh, this kind of feels like a John Carpenter slasher movie here, and I thought that was a nice little wink
For
to
a
that style
moment.
of set.
Yeah.
For a moment.
And they do it a couple times, actually, because they also do it when they discover
Yeah.
when the priest arrives and she's eating the spiders.
Yeah.
They switch to handheld there for a little bit as well, because we get the floor, the wall, the spiders.
Yeah. And she's like scratching the walls, right? Like that's yeah.
Yeah, but it looks like she's counting down the days till she can get more spiders, something. I don't know.
She might have just been counting to 6.
No, that was her going 4. I had 4 spiders in my mouth.
But after Laura Linney finishes with Jason, she then finds out at her local bar via the TV that the serial killer that she got acquitted has killed a young couple, which would be horrifying to find out. We get a moment of her processing it in the bathroom, and then we never come back to it ever again.
No.
Yeah.
So,
Honestly, guys, if you've never like gotten a murderer off and then that murderer murdered again and then gone to the bathroom and splashed water on your face, oof.
Like within a month or two.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's insane that she's functional. I would be in therapy immediately.
oh my God.
I'd quit.
Yes.
I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm not helping.
Yeah, I can't do this anymore.
Not only would I quit, I'd be like, I'm about to be a witness for the state in
Yes.
that guy's
Yeah.
next trial.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be bad. But she does wake up at home at 3 a.m. And this is where she kind of walks down her hall, same green and magenta lights. That's how you know there's demons.
Yeah.
And I love that they all check the smoke alarm as if they're like, well, demons couldn't outsmart the battery thing that yells at me all the time. They all check it.
No, we can't. Humans can't. So why would demons be able to?
Exactly. She drops a glass barefoot. That's not good. And then goes back to bed. But then we cut to the jail cell. And this is where we see the shadow figure. And we get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The counting.
Spooky counting.
Yeah.
Spooky counting. But then the shadow is gone. We cut to the next morning. She is late to court because she did not sleep well. And the judge is just like, bitch, how dare you? Like, she's hardcore about it.
We've been waiting for 17 minutes.
17 minutes late to trial, not a good look.
Not a good look, especially because trial starts at 9:30. That's not even that early. Like, I'm a comedian nighttime person. I could still get places at 9:30.
Yeah, you got to be on set at 5 a.m. sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Laura Linney really pissed off the AD that day.
Do you guys think that Laura Linney was maybe just late that day?
Yeah.
And then they wrote it into the script.
They were like, you know what? Here.
17 minutes.
Yeah, 17 minutes.
They talked to the actress who played the judge, and they're like, look, we're going to just shoot this from the hip. Just really let her have it when she comes in.
Yeah.
for
Like,
it.
really give it to her like it's a roast battle.
I actually think if you go back, Paige, you might need to check your notes, but I think if you go back and watch that scene again, the judge calls her Laura when she walks into the room.
Just in the scene.
Yeah, she calls
Laura.
her. Yeah, she goes, you were 17 minutes late, Laura. I think you hear her say it.
Yeah, I know you're first on the call sheet. Doesn't mean you need to be last through the door, okay?
Tom
yeah.
is 5 minutes early every call time. Every 5 minutes early, ass in chair.
We pull, the crew pulls up to the lot, and Jennifer Carpenter is already sitting. Her car is waiting there for us.
She's not even in these scenes, but she's here.
Yeah.
She's watching because she's supporting all of you.
Yeah.
Yes.
We already let her stand-in go. That's how good she is. Get on set, Laura.
Yeah.
I love how we're saying this and like, I bet she was great.
I'm sure she was fine. I think they include this to give a reason for why they don't give them a continuance for finding the doctor when he doesn't show up. Because like
Okay.
he's a subpoenaed witness.
Oh yeah, but Paige, they do though. So that's like a dead beat.
They do, but she brings it up.
Because I know, but like,
Yeah.
why even have that objection?
I don't know.
The problem here is you're just giving this movie
Yeah.
too much thought.
Yeah.
That's true. It's not Law and Order. It's not research.
No, but Judge Reagan can't wait to let this murderer off.
Yeah.
Can't wait. But this is where, so Dr. Briggs, Henry Caserta, in his most Mission Impossible, is like, the autopsy basically said that she starved to death and had self-inflicted wounds and just general wounds, which are consistent with violent seizures. So yeah, we're pretty sure it's epilepsy that's causing psychosis, and that's why all this happened.
And then malnutrition.
I
Yeah.
literally wrote in my notes when they revealed who this was. Here's your medical report if you choose to accept it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was that guy from all the Mission Impossible movies.
that guy.
That's the only thing I know him from.
Kittredge.
Yeah.
But at this point, Laura Linney gets to cross and she's just like, hey, so couldn't it have been other things? And he's like, I mean, I guess it could be a lot of things. If you had brought her to a hospital, we could have examined it.
We could have found out. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I rest my case. And you're like, girl, no, this didn't make you look good at all.
No.
He didn't say if we had brought her to, again. They brought her to a priest and the priest didn't do anything.
Nope.
The priests were worthless.
Yeah. They allowed her to die through their negligence, like straight up.
That's the thing. I don't understand if this is like a pro-Catholic movie. The demon wins. So this is ineffective.
This was so funny to me because like in this very next line, she's like, so what would you have done? And he's like, I would have tranquilized her
And force-fed her.
her.
Like through a tube, probably.
And probably put her through some electric shock treatment. She was like, wow, you would do that to her. How dare you? And he's like, yeah, to save her life, I would. And she's like, oh no.
He's got me there.
Yeah. Because the guy you're defending killed her, bro.
Damn it. Like they make this sound so awful. And I was like, some people have really benefited from electroshock treatment, like depending on the thing. But anyway, she does have a recess till the next day. Then she's going to do opening statements and call her first witness. But she then talks to the priest and she's like, hey, I didn't sleep. I'm not going to tell you about it. Don't worry about it. And he's like, you're having a spiritual battle. And she's like, it's fine. We just got to find a way to like get through their case that's basically medically and factually sound. Don't worry about it.
You're having a spiritual battle. No, I think I just should take melatonin tonight. I think I'll be
I
fine.
just need to get to the library.
It's not a spiritual battle. Like, we're at trial.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is an actual legal battle.
Yeah, there's a real, actual
Right.
legal battle happening, and that's what I'm focused on.
You know what they say about Father Moore? Head in the clouds. Just doesn't know what's going on.
But she gets her assistant to get her a bunch of books on essentially exorcism in other religions and just information. And so she finds someone who's written a number of articles and is also a Law and Order regular to then have them come in and talk about how exorcism is perceived by other people.
Laura Linney's like, hey, I'm a super big fan of your blog. Do you mind coming to testify?
And they're like, I thought you'd never ask. It's like when I got to be in a NXIVM documentary. It's fun. It's good times. Fun times. but she also talks to Jason a little bit more, and he's like, she wanted to eat, but she couldn't hear the clinking, like, here's all the stuff. And she talks to the priest again, and this is where he's like, so when I showed up, she was all contorting and weird and eating these spiders, and then a whole bunch of cats were there, and a cat just fully attacked me. And I do love that, like, as they're trying to, like, tackle her with the spiders, she's basically doing, like, burpees, where she's just, like, squat, jump, plank. And I was like, that is torture.
Paige,
Like,
how else do you get a demon out than exorcising via CrossFit?
You fart it out.
It's CrossFit exorcisms, guys.
You always fart after those exercises. That's how you get a demon out.
That's how you know it's working.
It's also one of those things where they're like, okay, before we shoot this, okay, we've seen crab walking, we've seen head spinning,
Right.
levitation. Like, just give me anything. What
about the head explosion from Scanners? No, we can't kill her. We can't kill her.
We
gotta
can't
keep
do that.
her,
Everyone's gonna know. Like, what is the thing that we haven't seen yet? Jump squats. Great, let's just do that.
Let's do it.
Have you seen the plyometrics tape from P90X? Let's have her do some of that shit.
Yeah,
that's real. It was real scary when I tried to do it.
That's great. Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. That's what she's doing.
100%.
It's like floor Pilates. Yeah.
She's like doing the invisible tire hops.
Yes.
Honestly, amazing physical performance though.
This movie is also anti-exercise.
It is.
Anti-exercise. They're like, how dare she? How dare she try to get lithe? But she's eaten all these spiders that it says that the cats have brought to her. Either that or they have a serious problem and should call an exterminator. Because there's like a lot of like big spiders.
And they're like Halloween spiders.
Oh, yeah.
100.
They look like a kid's idea of what a spider looks like. They're like big and black and like fuzzy and long spindly legs.
It looks like someone created like a confectionery spider that she's eating.
Yeah.
Which is probably what it actually is.
Fondant.
But it
Delicious.
shouldn't look that way.
Yeah.
It should look spidery.
Yeah.
But I was mad that like she is the only one trying to address their infestation of spiders. And she's the one in trouble.
And if the cats are bringing them to her, like, I have a cat. I don't know if you've ever seen, like, cats will eat the spiders themselves. I can't imagine that they would like not take the available snack and bring it to you.
Well, sometimes cats kill mice and then they drop it off on your doorstep to be like,
as a gift.
Look at what I did.
Yeah, I'm Lucifer
for my satanic master.
There you go. But this is where she's got the foreign voice that basically is like, I am the one who lives within. And the priest in Latin immediately is like, or Aramaic, because on the tape they say Aramaic. He's like, well, I'm the one here to cast you out. And she's like, I dare you.
Yeah.
Come try it.
But when she's like light as a feather, stiff as a board as they're picking her up, like it's such a cool shot.
Oh, yeah.
Because she is like, there's no bend from the waist at all. And she is frozen in that like sideways, I have fallen on the floor position. Like it
Amazing.
Looks great. Like the physical performance she does is nuts.
Yeah, her physicality is really good in the movie.
Yeah.
So good. But we cut back to the trial and they're like, the DSM would qualify all the things you've listed as documentable issues.
I love every time the DA comes back, he's like, what you may have seen in that last flashback was bullshit, and here's exactly why.
Yeah. My favorite, though, too, is they're like asking, and they're like, has there ever been another problem? It's like, well, her aunt was in an institution, and they're like, okay, so there's also
There's
a
like
family history
is what you're saying of like mental health issues, which famously do get passed through families, you know?
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to say she has a headshot. She's got a black and white headshot.
Yeah.
That Campbell Scott showed on the first day of the trial when he was showing the pictures.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she had a full-on headshot. She's an actor.
Yeah.
Everyone knows we're out of our minds, okay?
Of course.
We have a lot of issues.
You'd have to be to do the job, basically.
That's another, mark on her record.
So afraid of who we are as people, we want to inhabit others. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in therapy too.
She's just she channels. Well, now I'm on the side of the defense. She's channels. She's
how dare you flip on us, Michael? How dare you flip?
She's channeling characters. Yeah. Well, you know what?
But we cut to their professional expert witness, Sadira Adani.
She is it's her.
She's good.
She's in a lot of shit too. Like I see her all the time.
She's just in something I was watching recently, and I can't remember what it was. Oh, she's in What's that movie? Isn't she in the movie with Ben Kingsley?
Yes.
Where he's got like where their son dies.
The first thing I saw her in was 24, I think.
She's a regular in 24.
For like a whole season, I think.
She had a season arc on Law and Order SVU. And then I think she has also been a regular Law and Order, but it's she was also in Adjustment, or originally was supposed to be in Adjustment Bureau and then got cut out, and we talked about it on that episode. But Shahore Agdashlu, a long storied career of work in many, many different things, many of which are crime and court shows. So right at home.
Yeah.
This is where she's like, yeah, I think she might be hypersensitive to spirits, which again, not provable. Possible? Not provable. But this is where she brings up Carlos Castaneda and is like, yeah, as he said in his con artist books, this thing. And it's unfortunately, this movie came out before bad things happened with his group.
I do love the audacity of like quoting a cult leader like it's a good thing in your movie.
So funny.
That's famously never ended badly, you know, cults.
At this point in like history, he was just on a speaking tour.
You mean like
and
2005?
People didn't know. People didn't know that he just had like a real nice house in Southern California where he just kept like 3 or 4 women at a time. But, you know, they would find out later. Anyway, they approach the bench because understandably the state is like, I'm sorry, this is a court. What's happening? And then we go back because the judge is like, nah, I'll let her cook. And they go back and she's like, yeah, that Gambutrol stuff, it kept her possessed. So you actually killed her.
That's some real Pfizer energy you got right there, Paige.
Oh, it was bonkers.
Yeah.
But after we cut out of this court day, she gets a message from Dr. Cartwright, who claims he was at the exorcism, and goes to the priest and is like, you had a doctor there? Like, that could have gotten you off weeks ago. Like, what are we doing?
And again, he's like, none of this is important.
Yeah.
All that's important is that I tell Emily's story.
Yeah, it's insane. But also, like, if he had told them about the doctor beforehand, he would have testified before he had died.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway, we do get the doctor's perspective. He's like, she wasn't mentally ill at all because she knew she was mentally ill. And I was like, what? No.
That doesn't work that way. I don't think that works.
Many people understand that they have mental illness and then are seeking treatment.
You don't know if you're crazy.
Yeah.
If you're crazy, you don't know you're crazy. I was like, that's problematic.
It's not good. And also, don't talk about it that way. That's not like, you know, it's not like if you have mental illness, you're unfit to understand what is happening to you.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they say it like it's a stone cold fact. They're like, oh yeah, famously crazy people have no idea.
Yeah. They say it as if you're like, oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Like it literally is like a scientifically proven fact.
I don't think it's the same rules as narcissism.
No, I don't think so. I don't think there's the fun loophole of just like, this is exactly. But he then gives her the tape recorder.
Yeah.
And he's like, now this is your problem. Have fun. See you in court.
I loved the fact that they actually used it literally the next day in court. And like, that's not at all how that would go at all, ever.
Well, they have to try and explain it away. Like, we'll get there in just a second because a few things happened before then. But yeah, we'll talk about it when we get there. But she then takes it to prison. The fact that they let her take it into the prison also would not happen, by the way. Like, they wouldn't let you have that, especially not in like a meeting room in a cell.
And not like something you could record additional things on or erase or tamper with. Like, she literally could just change anything on that tape.
Oh, yeah.
If she wanted to.
There's no way they could have verified the authenticity of that tape at all.
Nope.
Whether it had been edited and then like transported back onto the tape. Like, you can't do that for various legal reasons.
Yeah. But this is where she's like, by the way, I've got your tape recorder. And also I found this weird locket. And he's like, you should wear that locket. And she's like, it seems like a coincidence. And I'm like, it's a locket. Did you open it to see if there were pictures in it? Are they pictures of you? Like, is this seems solvable, basically.
That's some real Chad Kroger energy, and I will not accept it on this podcast page.
I like that she was a real like atheist and skeptic, but like when it comes to synchronicities, they're magical.
Yeah, she's all about it. She's like, look, I know that Mothman and Indrid Cold were just warning us about the bridge, but were they just warning us about the bridge?
She was an atheist, and then she saw the movie Serendipity, and she was like, oh shit, John Cusack did find her. There is a God.
Oh.
There you go. Anyway, we cut back to her apartment and she wakes up to hearing the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is very creepy.
It is very creepy. I did not like it.
But she wakes up to hearing the wind blowing and screaming on the recording at 3 a.m., which I think is what the doctor meant by it being her burden now, because I think that thing just goes off every night at 3 a.m. and that's horrifying.
Yeah. It's like having the
terrible.
worst alarm clock.
Oh my God, yes.
Or like having a cat just jumping on you at 3 a.m.
Yep, like it's nothing. Just a weird little furry demon.
Every time it happens, I stand up and yell, cat attack!
Yeah. That is usually how it goes.
Yeah.
They just jump on you at 3 a.m. and you wake up. That is why they're the devil's favorite pet.
It's honestly, I think they get a bad rap because of their nocturnal zoomies.
Yeah, they got to run laps around the house.
Yeah.
Anyway, the next day is the day that the priest gets to go on the stand. Why they didn't have the doctor go first, I guess because they want the priest story and then the doctor to corroborate it, but I would have had the doctor go first. Anyway,
Yeah.
this is how we found out that the exorcism was on Halloween, hilarious, and that the tape recorder recorded the thing, and then they just play it in court. And I do love that they're like, you can't introduce evidence like that in the middle of the trial. She's like, actually, I can because I sent you the form. And I'm like, no.
I can play it because the transcript's in the mail, nerd, all right? But
Yeah.
that's how none of that works.
This script feels so compelled to explain why they're breaking trial rules all the time.
Right.
And it's like, you know what? This is about demons. Just play it as if it's okay and let the people go, that one really happened that way. Let people suspend their disbelief. We're already doing it because it's about demons. Come on.
Right. Well, and now that you've pointed it out, now we're like, oh, yeah.
Yeah,
wait
it
a
bogs it
second.
down.
Yeah.
Just go with but is it possible? Okay, fine. Sure. Maybe it's possible. Or maybe we can assume they did it off screen. I have no sense of how time is moving in this movie anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yes, because the movie's unclear. They only show you night when they want to. They only show you day when they need to.
If you told me this entire movie took place in one day, I would probably believe you.
Yeah.
Because it's always night. So what do I...
Yeah.
And it's always raining. So I don't know how long this trial went on.
It's like this happened a few days after Halloween because we know it takes place a little bit after the actual exorcism is when she dies. But then the trial is before Christmas because it is winter time. The trial would not come that fast.
It's perpetual winter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the whole timeline is fucking nuts.
The trial would have been years later.
Yeah.
This would have gone on forever.
When he gets off for time served, it's 12 days.
Yeah.
He served his time.
Yeah.
Because he went to jail for a week.
Yeah. Guys, it's been real rough on him.
Yeah, but we get the flashback of the exorcism. For me, this is one of the scarier parts of the movie because the imagery is really scary. We do get the token upside down cross.
Yeah. I like the way they did it too because it was on the wall and then it swings he knocked it off the top and it swings below it. It's cool.
Yeah, but we also get, this is where the cats swarm and attack before she literally jumps out a fucking window and runs across the yard, which made me laugh really hard.
It was pretty funny.
It was pretty great.
And then we got this barn scene where I was just like, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Well, my favorite is when he's like, doctor, check her vitals. And I'm like, fucking how? You're in the middle of a barn. And he's like, her pulse is 180 beats a minute.
Also, she just jumped through a window and ran here. She seems to be in perfect health.
Yeah.
Well, and he's standing feet away from her and he's 180 beats a minute. And I was like, you don't have a stethoscope. You don't have, you aren't even close. You can't get close enough to her to, test it. What are we talking about? But she's giving the performance of her fucking life in the middle of the barn.
Yes.
Just crushing it.
It's crazy. It is.
And, magicking snakes onto people and all kinds of stuff. Choking the doctor.
When she, is fighting back through, pulling, I think it was a pick or a hoe, like a hay shovel, one of those things.
A pitchfork?
Yeah.
That's what I meant.
A hay
Pitchfork,
shovel. Yeah.
a hay shovel.
The thing that's most commonly associated with the devil?
Boom. Nailed it.
Yep.
Is that how you pronounce? I've always pronounced it hay fork. That's my bad. I apologize. I'm so
It's
sorry. When she throws or pulls the hay fork at him through the force or whatever, it was cool. I was scared by this.
Yeah.
It was very scary. This whole thing was Very intense.
She must have been so exhausted
Oh my God.
after every day
I know.
of filming.
Yeah.
And just screaming. And like she does the silent scream too
Yeah.
at certain points, which is real scary.
When she does the "but deliver us from evil," like during the exorcism, when she's like
Yes.
saying the
Yeah.
word, she like that is like she's screaming it like she's in Slipknot. Like that's what it sounds like. And it's very cool, but also very eerie.
I feel like everyone thought they were making Primal Fear.
Yeah.
And then they all went and saw the movie and they're like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's not the movie we thought.
We might
Like,
have missed the mark a bit.
Yeah, we thought we were doing okay, got it. Like I really do think that they all thought they were like playing like this is a courtroom drama first.
Right.
And then she's got this like very edgy like
Yeah.
physical role that she has to like pull off. And I think it was like now that I think about it, I'm like, oh, that's the movie they thought they were making here. But I think the studio wanted to market it like The Exorcism. So they wanted more of a horror movie.
Yeah.
And the legal stuff wasn't that compelling.
Yeah, well, and they tried to market this as like the most scariest movie.
Of course, based on a true story. Yeah.
Based on a true story. When literally like 2 years after this, Last Exorcism comes out and does it better.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, they were like out in theaters literally months away from each other. But this is where she's like, names, there's 6. That's why she counts to 6. And it's the demon that was in Cain, the demon that was in Nero, the demon that was in Judas, Legion, Belial, and Lucifer. And when it does Lucifer, it's actually a really cool shadow
It's
effect.
so cool. And the eyes are sort of glowing. It's very, very cool.
Well, they're like cat eyes.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
reflective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But those were the cats, Paige.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Just a mound of cats. But then the horses get loose and kick her dad in the chest. And she just kind of passes out into like a deep sleep because wouldn't we all?
Yeah.
The exertion. It's
After
just,
the day on set she's had, yeah.
I also like, again, part of this, I like what this kind of goes along with like, what time is it? What day is it? Like, what are the rules here with the, like, what does the demon actually do? Why are we
what
like,
does it want?
why are we scared of it? You know,
Right.
like,
What does it want?
Yeah, what-
Sorry.
yeah,
I mean,
like-
you're not wrong. There aren't any stated goals for the demon outside of like general prankery. I'm going to
Yeah.
make her eat some spiders, guys. It's going to be fucking dope.
there's the moment where Tom Wilkinson sees like the stained glass window, eyes bleed,
Yeah.
and the picture, the thing in the form, and he is terrified.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, yeah, but haven't you seen stuff like this in a movie before? Like, why are you so scared?
Do exorcism movies not exist in this universe, I guess?
Exactly.
is
I'm
the
like,
question.
this is kind of hack. Like, this demon
You've
is
never
just...
heard of Father Karras?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah.
and also, aren't you trained for this? Why are we so scared? I just don't understand.
Well, and he establishes that he never stopped seeing the shadowy figure after this night. And so, like, that means he's been seeing it for however long it took them to go to trial, which if this is the real world is years. If this is this movie, a couple weeks at least.
Yeah.
So, like, shouldn't you just be like, knock it off with the windows? Like,
Yeah.
wouldn't you be bored?
I mean, I know it's a dumb thing to be like, why should we be scared? But I was like, why? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
Exorcism is terrifying because it's like, it's got a little girl, you know?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh no.
Yeah.
You know, this is bad. And not it's bad that it's got Emily Rose too, I guess, but I don't know. Anyway, go on.
Yeah.
We got to get through this movie again.
We're almost at the end.
Yeah,
believe
we're
it or
getting
not.
there.
We're making good time.
We got to power through, though. You're right.
I've now watched this movie twice today.
Have you? Oh, because we're going through it again? Or
Yeah, because we're going
yeah.
through it.
Yeah.
But he then is like, we didn't do an exorcism again because she didn't consent to it. And everyone takes this as like, oh, well, if she doesn't like consent to be treated, we don't treat her. And I was like, there is a process in place where sometimes if people are suffering from mental illness, they are not acting in their best interests to stay alive, and choices are made without them to a degree.
Her parents probably have power of attorney here.
Right.
Yeah.
Something to keep her safe or whatever.
The thing is, I think her parents, I'm sure, did have power of attorney, and that was the
Right.
problem.
Medical power of attorney, I should say.
Right.
But
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is also where they're like, so she finally stopped taking the epilepsy drugs. And it's like, okay, so she went through the full exorcism, all of it. on the drugs and they clearly aren't working. We didn't go back to a doctor and be like, this one doesn't seem to work.
Yeah, she gets to decide, I'm just not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Also, when did Emily ever show up? Like, Emily didn't show up in any of these moments to be like, hey guys, hold on, it's Emily now.
Yeah.
Here's what I want to do.
Right.
Like, from what we saw, it was always the demon.
Right.
So why would you listen to anything that the demon would say?
Exactly. Well, and then we cut back to court and they're like, so did you alter that tape? And he's like, no. And they're like, we believe you.
Just checking.
Just checking. We have to ask.
And the defense is like, objection. And the judge is like, fuck it. I'm making terrible decisions. It's fine. We're going to allow it.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Who can fake audio, guys? Nobody can do that.
But this is where they establish the dual vocal cords and the potential psychosis.
Which is a far more likely scenario than just faking a tape.
Yeah.
Like
Right?
fucking with the tape.
Way more likely. Yeah.
So much.
That's why I love when the DA comes back after that and he's like, so you're saying you've never heard of like Daryl Hannah who can do that kind of shit? Like in his impressions? You never heard of a stand-up comic who does impressions?
Yeah.
Like that's sort of like, yeah. Or the Tibetan singers or whatever. Like anyone who has that command over their voice.
Exactly. And at this point, she's like, well, wait, my next witness is a doctor who was there. And you'll believe a doctor, right? And they're like, we can't find the doctor. And in my notes, I just have, oh, he's definitely dead.
Oh, yeah.
Like at the Law and Order Act 3, the witness is dead. Like always.
Always, yeah.
But this is also where she's like, well, you made the court wait before because you were late. But fine, we're adjourned till 9:30 tomorrow, sharp.
But this is when I noticed that the judge was an idiot because she just said no because you were late that one time. But that testimony about that exorcism was whack, and I think we all need time to process it as if it's real. So I'm going to give you all the afternoon off.
Yeah, she was like, guys, this has been wild.
Yeah.
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 This is wild. I'm enjoying sitting through this whole thing. Anyway, yeah, go home. So Laura Linney runs into him in like one of the alleys behind the courthouse, and he's just like, yeah, I can't do it. Demons have been haunting me this whole time. What's that? A car? Immediately hit by a car.
Exactly.
Who was driving it?
Yeah, are they going to trial now? Why
Right.
don't we know what happens with this driver?
This was an accident. This wasn't demons. And like,
Guys, what if it had been the murderer that she had gotten off and then
Holy
he giggles and drives on?
Shit.
there you go.
I had an alternate pitch. It was the 6 cats in a trench coat.
There you go.
There you go. Anyway, she's drinking in her office, and the partner comes in and is like, why'd you let him testify? He's full-blown crazy. If you call him up again, you're fired. Okay, bye.
I know.
And he does kind of lord the serial killer over her head a little bit of like, well, you know, that other guy turned out to be super guilty, but whatever.
And he talks like this. Every line that he has, he has a very like weird accent.
It's almost sing-songy.
Yes, he's like, why did you let him go on? He said, oh, you know, if you do that one more time, you're through. I'm like, what, where's this guy from? What accent is
I'm
this?
sorry. Are you a vampire from Sesame Street? Why are you talking this
Yeah,
way?
are you like a commander on the deck of a Star Destroyer? Like, why are
Yes.
you
Yes,
talking
thank
like
you.
this?
Because barristers have a quality of and
Yeah.
it's just like nonsense. But she's wearing the locket. And she goes to see the priest and he gives her a letter and he's like, they'll believe this. As if letters can't be forged.
Yeah,
Like-
just like that tape recorder, they'll believe it.
I thought that shit was so funny because he's like, I can let Emily answer that question in this letter I wrote last night. And he just like reads what could be just made up gibberish.
Yeah. Oh, guys, I just found a letter.
Found it. I didn't give it to you before because it was inconvenient.
It wasn't postmarked because the postman knows me, so he just dropped it in my mailbox, but it totally went through the postal system. He's just a friend, so it's fine. Like,
It's fine.
and no one checks, no one sees. It's insane to me that they even allow this in court, but it's hilarious.
Well, and here's the thing. If you're going to make up a letter, make it say something better like, hey, I tried a bunch of different treatments. Nothing seemed to work. I had tried all these different things and none of it worked. And so I was at the end of my rope. And instead it's like, no. After the exorcism, the thing that's the illegal part, I walked out the next day and I saw the Virgin Mary by a tree. And she's like, I could kill you now, or I could let you stay in this body and it's going to hurt a bunch. But then people will believe in demons. And at no point is anyone like, is this convincing anybody? No? Okay, worthless then. Great.
And also at no point do we see Mary.
Never.
Like in a movie that hinges on the exorcism being real, we don't see this. And Mary offers her like, hey, we can let you go now. I can take you to heaven. Your job is done. And Emily is like, fuck that. I'm going to prove all this shit is real and suffer.
And did she accomplish that decision? No, because they found the priest guilty.
This is something you're not going to have context for, but Paige and I just guessed it on an episode of God Awful Movies, and they did Nefarious.
Yes.
And in that movie, it's all about the demon that's in this guy in prison getting this other guy to write his book. And so, like, this movie sort of feels a little bit like that because he's obsessed with telling her story. And I like thought it was, and he talks like a cult leader the whole time. Like he's trying to convince her that like the demons are after her, like Laura Linney's character. It's just insane.
Yeah, that's interesting. And Tom Wilkinson, the priest in this, is like, she's going to be a saint. And it's like, why? What miracle did she perform?
And it would have to be 3 miracles. If you say that, I then need to see 3 miracles.
She ate a spider.
She ate a spider. She talked a horse into kicking her dad in the chest or whatever. And then she came back after talking to Mary because she wanted to prove it was all real. Come on, Pope.
Yeah.
Canonizer.
Immediately.
It's bonkers. And the one thing that they try to use, they're like, then she got the stigmata. And I was like, oh, the girl who has been unfortunately injuring herself for a long time is injured, and that's supposed to prove anything?
Paige, I love the DA again comes in with a mic drop again after they talk about this. And he's like, oh, you mean the holes in her hands that she very clearly got from the barbed wire fence?
Yep.
Like, I love that, like, every step of the way this movie is telling you it's not a real exorcism, but it thinks it is.
Yeah.
It's the first shot of the movie's that barbed wire fence, so you know that the movie's trying to tell you she's faking the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not stigmata. It's the by far less scary fence-mata.
This isn't symbolic of a crown of thorns. It's just barbed wire, guys.
Yeah.
You may say it's just demons, but it's just barbed wire.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get closing arguments from the state who's just like, yeah, we clearly proved this, right? Like, I don't know why there's a question. And then we cut to Laura Linney, who talks in circles for 15 whole minutes of like, is it possible that she could see ghosts? We don't know. But because we don't know, we've got to let this murderer free. And you're like, what?
Her closing argument is equivalent of her just walking up to the jury and going, shrug.
But it is like, no joke, a 3-minute speech that, like, at one point, I think she was like, did Herbie Hancock sign the Declaration of Independence? Possibly. Like, what?
Possibly.
What are we doing right now? Like,
when your closing argument is like, do we really take reality seriously? Then you know you've hired the wrong lawyer.
Serial Mom has a better defense.
Yeah, but like she's delivering this gibberish.
Yes.
Like it is the speech that's going to clinch it. Like, it's the Hail Mary pass that she has to nail. And she essentially comes up there and talks gibberish for 3 minutes.
And again, Laura Linney is committing to every line of dialogue.
She's crushing
It's just when you stop to think about what's on the page, you're like, guys.
Yeah.
Guys.
Dude, there's a moment where Tom Wilkins is like delivering one of his like exorcism moments from the stand. And he's like teary-eyed. And you're like, God, he's fucking nailing this.
It's great.
But it's sort of silly what we're seeing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It is. Anyway, he's found guilty. They're like, no, he definitely did that shit.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, so sentencing in a month. And he's like, I'd like to be sentenced now, please. And they're like, all right, jury, want to weigh in on a thing you never get to weigh in on?
Paige, it's not even that. It's like the judge is like, oh, you want to be sentenced now? Cool. I got it. So like right now, I'm going to sentence you. And then like the jury foreman walks up like it's Oliver asking for more. And then it's like, excuse me, judge, can we tell you how to do your job? I was a carpenter last week, but now I'm on a jury and I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express, so I can do your job. Like it was insane to me.
And she goes, yes.
I'll allow it.
She thinks about it for a second. She goes, you know what? They got me there.
There's no rule that says a jury can't sentence and play basketball.
And it's just a jury of airbuds.
Yeah. But so they decide to give him time served.
All 7 days.
All 7 days.
For the metaphor, guys.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We cut to she's getting drinks afterwards, and her old partner is just like, hey, you made partner. And she's like, fucking keep it.
No, he's like, congratulations, you've made partner now.
And if you step into this haunted elevator. Yeah, like that's
Going down.
exactly.
I do like that he's like, congratulations, full partner, because she's been junior partner or whatever.
And he's like, the archdiocese loves us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they want us to do all the crimes. Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, I do think she got out at a good time of that law firm, especially if that's when they started defending, like if they were defending priests, because that's like right around the time like the lawsuits were like really about to pop off.
Yeah, spotlight's about to happen. Let's get out of here.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo already knows.
Yeah.
And he is just writing the
He's
meanest
typing
article.
away
Yeah.
in his little Boston apartment right now.
And so she's like, you know what? I'm going to take the clout from literally proving exorcisms are real or whatever, and then start my own firm and get away from all this nonsense.
Yeah. But they visit Emily's grave, which
Yeah.
says, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. And I was like, I don't think that's what that verse meant, but fine. She then puts the files away and goes to go to bed and turns the clock back around as if she's like, I'm not afraid of demons anymore.
And that's the movie. So having seen the movie, having talked about the movie, what did you guys think about The Exorcism of Emily Rose?
I was just going to say, you know what it should have said on her headstone was, Emily Rose ate a bunch of spiders.
Best exterminator ever. Really put her money where her mouth was,
Yeah.
but also the spiders.
And also the spiders where her mouth was. Yeah. But won the bet. So
Yeah.
it's a very long quote for a headstone, but we're going to fit it all.
Yeah.
So what'd you guys think about the movie, though?
I mean, I didn't find it particularly scary, but I do like Law and Order. So like I was kind
Demon.
of with it. Yeah, demon. I was kind of with it until they started breaking Law and Order rules, and then I was like, what is this? I feel like there are so many more interesting stories that they introduced that they could have taken us on a track and they didn't. And it just puts into stark contrast the movie that we're actually watching, which is just not as interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I skipped this movie when it came out. It's possible.
It's
possible I auditioned for the role of Jason in this
Jason?
movie.
Tell me everything. You'd have been perfect for Jason. I'm just saying that right now.
I remember being aware that this movie was coming out, which I'm sure I auditioned for this, in my early days out here in LA.
Yeah.
I don't have there's a lot of movies I can tell you I did audition for. I can't say for sure, but I remember knowing about it. So I remember being like, oh yeah, that movie. So I must have read for this.
Yeah.
I must have read for Jason, but I skipped it because it looked boring, and I was kind of right. Well,
Yeah.
And I think the thing is, this movie didn't know what movie it wanted to be.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
And I
yes.
think there's a movie that's like the movie that I kept thinking about watching it, maybe because Laura Linney's in it as well. It's like, if you want a movie that's just a few years older than this, that's sort of got the same vibes and not as many, like, I don't think any trial scenes, like Mothman Prophecies. Watch the Mothman
yeah.
Prophecies. Because it's
Yeah.
like, that's a very like mid-range movie. It doesn't like change the world, but it's spooky and it makes the lead guy investigating the story question reality. And I think like that does a better job of telling a similar story at the same budget with the same caliber of actors. So I would say skip this, watch the Mothman Prophecies.
I also feel like Mothman Prophecies really does leave you at the end with like, it could be, it could not be.
Yeah.
And both of those are possible. So
But this movie gives like a Kaiser Soze moment to the actual devil. So
Yeah. This movie's just like, I don't know what the message is here at the end of the day. Like, it's hard to have it both ways. It's hard to be like, science failed her because the medicine got her possessed, but then not have the church win, really?
right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
the story almost has to be like, no, the church did this. The belief in,
Right.
and the story should be like, this is what happens when you let religion override people who actually want to help.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the villains in this story are the parents and are the church. Sorry, guys.
No,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think we're following the villains, and the movie
Yeah.
thinks they're
Yeah.
the heroes.
And that's why the movie doesn't really work. Everyone is giving great performances, but the message is really muddled. Like The Exorcist is Catholic propaganda because the church wins at the end of the movie, right?
Right.
The Conjuring, like all the Conjuring movies, the religious people win out.
Those are the Avengers for Christianity. That's all that
Yeah.
realm,
Yeah.
which I'm here for. I love the bonkersness of that world, but it is.
But that it's clean in that way
Yes.
that it's like the message is, guys, I know you're skeptical about demons, but they're real. And if you want to be saved, you have to believe in Jesus, right? That's what the
Yeah.
messages of those movies are.
Right.
This movie tried to have it like a couple different ways and it just didn't work. And it wasn't enough about Laura Linney's grappling with like, oh man, I don't like my job. And I don't like the
Right.
fact that like I'm so good that I convinced people that a serial killer was innocent. Like, that's a fucking interesting movie.
Yeah.
And I want to see that in maybe this realm.
I mean, I would almost want to see that in a like American Werewolf version where the victims of that guy's like
Yeah.
murders are coming after her. Like
Right.
that kind of stuff.
I agree with everything you guys said. I don't have any new notes other than I think it's a terrifically acted bad script.
They're all great. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I honestly think, like, cinematography wise, direction wise, I don't have any real qualms. It is scary.
No, he's not a bad director. Who was this screenwriter on this? I'm curious if it was.
Yeah. So this was Scott Dickerson, and the writers were Paul Harris, Boardman, and Scott Dickerson. So he's writer director with a partner who helped him write. Yeah.
Okay. He probably came in and did rewrites, I'm guessing, unless he collaborates with this Paul Harris. I bet the director came in and tried to change some stuff and help it out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this movie isn't like dog shit.
No, not at all. I'm sure both of these guys are still working.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Scott Derrickson did.
He did Doctor Strange,
Doctor
but he also
Strange,
did Sinister, which
Sinister.
is amazing.
Yeah, he's gone on like he's I think he's grown as a filmmaker, and like I'm interested. When I saw that he directed this, I was like, oh shit.
Oh, and Snowpiercer.
Yeah, he's got an eye and he has a voice and he's grown. So like I like it. I like the talent involved here. I just think, and again, it's not terrible. It's just kind of boring. But I think there are probably people out there who really like this movie, and I wouldn't try to convince them. And if you're listening and you really liked it, I
get it.
I would not try to tell you you're wrong.
Yeah,
I was just
same.
like, for me, I was like, this kind of ended up. It was a different movie than I thought it was going to be.
Me too.
Because I didn't know it was going to be all so much courtroom stuff.
Yeah.
But I also, again, I think they wanted to go for primal fear here.
Yeah.
I think they wanted to go for like a Stephen King, real Shawshank kind of emotional impact, like, whoa, thing here. And it's a little flat, even with,
I think it falls a little flat to us now 20 years almost after the movie comes
Yeah.
out because of shifts in perception that were caused by what was going on and what the spotlight, the movie sort of is showing was exposed around this time. So like, I think this movie comes out at a time where like the Catholic Church winning was way more socially acceptable. And now 20 years later, that feels, I have issues with that because of context.
And it's just a problem that I think we see still 20 years later is like, everyone wants to remake The Exorcist. Everyone wants to make The Exorcist again. The font in this movie poster looks like the Exorcism logo.
It does.
Like, it's just like, give it up. Like, it's been done. It's done. Like, I didn't see the most recent Exorcist movie
We just did an episode
We
on
just
it.
did.
that David Gordon
Save
Green
your
directed,
time.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, let's not do this anymore.
I think it's okay to create new stuff,
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if you've got a different spin on it, like the way Last Exorcism does, because it takes it from the other
Yes.
direction.
But that actually is original content too, right? That's not
That's
like
what I'm
we're doing
saying, yeah.
another Exorcist. Yeah, I agree completely, Paige.
Right. Or something like a Deborah Logan, which is technically an exorcism
It is.
movie, but it's from a completely different vein. If you're curious about the screenwriter, I just pulled this up, the person that he co-wrote with, They also have written a number of other horror movies, but also did Archive 81, the series. So
yeah, they're collaborative partners. They've done quite a bit together. They actually have a horror movie in production right now.
Yeah.
But there's not a whole lot of information about it. So they're probably writing it right now.
Yeah.
Anyway, but Paige, do you have any fun facts for us?
I do.
Well, hit us with your fun facts. Emily Rose, fun facts.
So Jennifer Carpenter, who played Emily Rose, got hired on the spot because she did a bunch of the contortions during her audition, and she did the silent scream during her audition.
She crushes it, though.
She's got that big mouth, you know, that really helps sell it.
Yeah.
Well, and this is also literally, she does this and then she's on Dexter, like next.
Yeah. It was crazy because at first I did not realize that that's who she was.
Yeah.
Because she looks way different when she's like contorted on the floor or whatever than she does in Dexter. But like when I realized it was her, I was like, shit, like that's range, man.
Yeah.
She can do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, she's good.
Once she got the role, she spent hours in front of multiple mirrors so she could see what the contortions looked like from different angles to find the scariest ones, which I think is the most effective part of this movie.
Me too.
Her performance. So, yeah.
Her physicality is fantastic.
So good. The jury was not given scripts, so they did not know how the case would turn out. But before the end of the movie, they polled the jury, and it was half and half. So, like, half the jury would have let him off. The other half thought he was guilty, which I think is fascinating.
That is fun.
Which I learned from 12 Angry Men. It only takes one guy to acquit.
Yeah.
So, like, he would have walked free because they had 6.
Yeah.
Which is also amazing because it's just like, what a fun little weird side project. Like, you have a lot to do when you're filming a movie.
Yeah.
The fact that they took the time to, like,
poll the jury.
Yeah. Have a little side game and be like, so what do you guys think?
So what do you guys think? Especially when, so they did a lot of things that they thought they would use as practical effects that they ended up not using, particularly because of Jennifer Carpenter's performance. So they actually made multiple dolls of her for when she's supposed to lock her limbs or when she's in a twisted position, and ultimately never used them.
Wow, cool. Good for her.
Wow.
Yeah. They thought her performance was more compelling. So that means that like even the stuff that looks almost impossible, she is doing it.
Good for her.
That's amazing.
Yeah. The only thing they had help with was when she does the back bend, they do have her in a harness, which we have not done Last Exorcism 2, but I believe that's the one where that girl broke her back trying to do the same thing.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so the harness, I believe, was for her safety.
Yeah, her name's Ashley Bell. She's so good in The Last Exorcism. I haven't seen the second one, but she is also one of those actresses that can do that physical performance so well. It's insane.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
Now, the bedroom and the scratches on the wall were based
Wait a minute. Time out.
Yeah.
Ashley Bell broke her back filming The Last Exorcist 2?
Yeah, The Last Exorcism 2, I believe she does a back bend in the first one, but I believe it was for the poster art for the second one. That was when that's the
and
one.
they used it?
Yes, they used it.
They used the one where she broke her back.
I was like, because look at this poster.
I love that you brought it up on your phone so you could see it. But yes, that is where she's breaking her back.
Yes.
Or at least that's the story, right? Like
the story. That is the story.
We could reach out to Ashley Bell on Instagram and ask, I'm sure, but she would would not see her message requests.
Yeah, probably not. So they did, we thought it was handheld, but it is also what we would typically call shaky cam, but it is on a string.
Okay.
Very much the way Sam Raimi used to for Evil Dead, but not quite as frenetic. Now, there is an urban legend among students at the University of Minnesota, and according to the legend, Pioneer Hall is allegedly a haunted dormitory, and it's where she was first possessed as seen in the film. However, as we covered, this is a fictionalized version of a real story, and so that woman was never at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah, because she was in Germany.
The legend is obviously fake.
Yeah.
She was in Germany. But I'll finish on this fun one, and there are a bunch more fun facts if you want to get into them. But during the production of the movie, Jennifer would wake up to her radio inexplicably turning on in the middle of the night and playing Pearl Jam's song Alive. More specifically, the lyrics, I'm still alive, would repeat over and over. And that's just according to her in an interview.
Whoa.
And those are your fun facts.
Well, Paige, thank you for those fun facts. Let's talk a little bit about box office. So what do you think the production budget for this movie was in 2005?
I would put it at somewhere in the 30, maybe high as 50 range.
Okay.
I would agree with you. It doesn't look like it from sets and camera work. It does look very low budget, but with the amount of acting talent that you have in this movie and known acting talent, that's going to be expensive.
Yeah, there's not a ton of crowd scenes and there's not a lot of locations, but I feel like this movie was like, we're going to have a good catering company. We're going to have I feel like they're like running like a mid-range, at least 20 million up movie here.
That's a very good guess. It actually was $18 million.
Wow.
This looks good for 18 million.
I think so too. It was 2005, so if you adjust for inflation, that's actually, I don't know if you remember, but your first guess was 30 million. If you adjust for inflation, that's 28 million. It's almost 29, honestly.
Okay.
So yeah, I think your first guess was like spot on today's dollars,
Got it.
But this movie premiered on September 9th, 2005, and it was number 1 that week. It beat the number 2 movie, 40-Year-Old Virgin, which had been out. This was its 4th week. So it definitely had been out for a while. Number 3 was Paige's favorite movie of that summer, The Transporter 2. Number 4 was The Constant Gardener, and number 5 was Red Eye.
Whoa.
What do you think The Exorcism of Emily Rose made in its opening weekend?
I don't know about opening weekend, but I did see what the box office was earlier, so I'm going to forfeit
you can recuse yourself for the total number, but you can still guess for this one.
I'm going to say opening weekend, it made 19, like just over.
Just over its budget? Yeah. Do you want to guess, Michael?
I think it's going to be making at least 33, 34 million opening weekend.
It made $30 million, like $30 million point
Nailed it.
$0. Yeah,
Nailing it.
You crushed it. It was number 1 that weekend, so it did take the box office. Now, it actually had pretty good stay power. So it was in the top 5 for its first 3 weeks. It was 7th, its 4th week, and then its 5th week, it fell out and then slowly out of theaters altogether. But, Michael, since you already know what it made, did you look up domestically or worldwide?
I just happened to glance and see it earlier. I think when I was looking at Wikipedia and looking up to see what it was really based on.
Yeah.
So I may not have the exact number, but I saw it earlier today. It was around, domestically, I think it was around 145 million, like around there. Was that global?
That was global, yeah. But I mean, that is what it made globally. So it was 144.5.
Which is a lot of money for this movie. I was surprised.
On an $18 million budget? Yeah, that's a great return on investment.
So if it did top 5 weeks, started at 30, I mean, I think it's ending in the like $68 million range. I'm probably
I was thinking like 80, depending on what it made. But
yeah, you guys are on either side of it. It's 75 million domestic.
Yeah,
there you go.
Nailed it.
Yeah,
but yeah,
great. Good for that.
It did very,
movie.
very well. Yeah. I'm surprised we don't have a bunch of these, but I guess they killed the titular character in this movie. So
we got a bunch of other stuff like it.
Yeah.
I thought they were hinting at Tom Wilkinson's Priest to go on to make more movies.
I would watch that. The Exorcist of Emily Rose, and he's just like kicking down every possessed person's door.
Yeah, because he's like, well, I can't go back to my parish. So I was like, okay, if the theoretical sequel is he moves to a new town and the demon that he encountered with Emily is back.
Yeah.
And it's somebody else. And now the stakes are, I didn't save the last one, I have to save this one. Or it's like...
Yeah, literally, like redemption for killing someone in this movie. Yeah.
It becomes Pope's Exorcist at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
But, Paige, that's your box office. Do you want to hit us with that scary scale?
Sure. Our scary scale is a scale of 1 to 10 of how scary we found the movie, our 1 being Ghostbusters, or 10 being Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Michael?
5.
Yeah. I was going to give it a 6. Like, the jump scares really messed me up, and they had a lot of them in this movie.
I had this at a 3.
Yeah.
I might go lower, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it. I really was not scared at all during this movie.
Oh, man. I was just scared by the jump scares. It's like, and the exorcism scene was very intense, so that was pretty chilling. But
yeah,
it was, but I was also like, damn, her back strength. And that kind of took me out of it. I was like amazed.
I was not scared by this movie. And I think the courtroom scenes really impeded any suspense building throughout the film. So yeah, I might knock it back. I think I might agree, Paige. I think I'm at a 3 here.
You're 3.
You're right. The courtroom scenes do like like it's like a pressure
Take the
release.
wind out.
Yeah, it's like a pressure release of all the scary. Yeah, you're right. Because you
Yeah.
know it's not going to show up there, which is why I, again, want to pitch my better ending of this movie where that doctor comes back possessed and they have to like, yes. Okay, you heard it before.
Or Laura Linney just calls the devil to the witness stand.
There you go.
And it's just that guy in his hoodie.
But that's your scary scale.
So, Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We
Yeah.
always a pleasure to have
Super
a legit
True Blood fan. This
star
was very exciting.
on the pod.
Oh, thanks.
You did mention it before, but can you tell everyone about your podcast, the Bigfoot Collectors Club?
Yeah.
And anything else you'd like to mention? I mean, you've got a lot going on, obviously. So,
Yeah.
Thanks. Bigfoot Collectors Club is, if for people who like horror, we talk a lot about spooky stuff, ghosts, aliens, cryptids.
obviously, cryptids,
So that's every Wednesday. And then we also have like most of everything up to the past year is up on YouTube as well, with some
Nice.
cool animated murals and stuff. So you can pop it on YouTube if you want to. Follow us at Bigfoot Collectors Club on Instagram and follow us on the podcast app you're listening to right now. It's fun. We have a fun sort of open-minded take. My co-host Bryce Johnson, Riley Bray, and I, we look at stories of high strangeness throughout history. We talk to comedians and actors about their thoughts on the paranormal. So right now it's Wet Hot Alien Summer 3. Saucerama is our theme.
Yes.
We're going retro this summer and looking at UFO stories and the flying saucer phenomenon that happened between 1947 and 1960.
Ooh, so have you guys done Betty and Barney Hill yet?
We have, and it's in the early 60s. We actually did that with Paul Scheer, episode
Fascinating.
100. That's a very good episode.
Paul Scheer.
Very good episode
Yeah.
to start with. So yeah, if you just want to check out play episode 100 with Paul Scheer, start there.
There you go.
You definitely can't go wrong with that.
No,
Yeah,
yeah.
great
The
cast.
question of did they see Greys on TV or are they the first people to see Greys?
Yeah, were they influenced by it wasn't the Twilight Zone, it was the
Outer Limits.
Outer
I
Limits,
believe.
thank you. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm a big old alien nerd.
Check that out.
Check Wet Hot Alien Summer out on Bigfoot Collectors Club.
That's right.
Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show. Like, it was great.
Thanks for having me. Thank
Absolutely.
you, everybody.
Yeah. Hey Todd, do you have any reviews for us?
You know what? I have been forgetting, but I did remember today to bring a review. Although now that I think about it, I forgot to get a Spotify comment, and that's on theme. So let me go grab one of those. I'm going to grab one from our most recent The Exorcist Believer featuring Eli Bosnick from God Awful Movies. We got a lot on this that were very... we should have Eli on a lot more focused. So maybe I could just find one that is a good representation of that.
All right.
Okay, so here's one. It's from The Void 183, and they say, definitely have Eli back. Love you all together. Hope you and everyone listening is doing well. And thank you so much, The Void, for that very sweet Spotify comment. Let me also read this Apple 5-star review from Zakat, or Zakat. It's Z-A-K-A-T.
Okay.
And they say, the perfect pod for the, well, horror virgin. That's the title of their review.
Okay.
I think I know where this is going. But they say, I love, 3 loves, Paige, this show. Unfortunately, I'm also a weenie when it comes to horror. Same, Zakat. So this is how I experience scary movies. Paige, Todd, and Mikey in older occasional episodes makes it feel like a conversation between friends and far more enjoyable than a dry reviewer droning on. I wish I read this shit. I even occasionally find a horror movie that I can handle, like The Guest, though the Immaculate episode has given me a very skewed understanding of the movie. And we did a lot of sidetracks in that one. It was a lot of Paige and our wonderful guest, Rachel, talking about how great it was to have a big-titted protagonist. And that's a direct quote. So there was a lot of that. But Zakat, thank you so much for the awesome 5-star review. And if you want to have me read your 5-star review or comment, leave us a 5-star review or Spotify comment, and I'll do just that. So guys, if you like this show but want to hear Paige and I talk about romantic comedies or just regular romantic movies, check out our other podcast. Some might call it a sister podcast called Romancing the Pod, where we do just that weekly. It's a lot like this show, but for romance and romantic comedies, because Paige doesn't like them. So we make her watch them, just like you guys make me watch horror over here. But if you want to follow me, I am at Todd J. Awesome on all the social media. Paige is at Rampage Wesley on Instagram?
Yes, and TikTok.
And just Paige Wesley on Twitter, because you got that before some CEO lady and she wanted it, but you wouldn't give it back. And I respect you for that.
Refuse.
Also, Paige
Suck it, other Paige Wesley.
Paige is also on another podcast. It's great. You should check it out. It's called Cult Podcast with Armando Torres, who is a wonderful person. And if you want to support this show, go to Patreon at patreon.com/horrorvirgin, where there are a lot of great levels and a lot of great things. We do the Patreon shout outs at the beginning of every episode. We do listener requests, stuff like that, bonus episodes. So you'll be getting all of that content, plus episodes a day early with no ads, and who doesn't love that? So sign up for the Patreon and get a lot of great stuff.
That's going to be it for us, you guys. I'm Paige.
And I'm your horror virgin, Todd.
Keep it ooky spooky.
Yeah. That was Reverend Steve Newland, nerd.